Hey everyone, welcome back. Quick thanks to the patrons who keep this channel alive. Your requests are what I narrate next. If you want to join them, you can try Patreon free for 7 days, then it's starting with just $3 a month. Links in the description. Now, let's get into the story.
Harry was lying on the infirmary bed drifting in and out of sleep. When he had first been brought into the infirmary, Madame Pomfrey had instantly diagnosed him and had very skillfully healed his broken ribs and arms in literally no time at all. Harry had been very impressed by her skills. However, she had still kept him for the night for observations, to which Harry was very glad, as he was not in a state to be questioned by Ron and Hermione. After waking up for the umpteenth time, Harry sighed and sat on his bed in a meditative position. His entire body was hurting. Never in his life had he ever had such a dull, numbing pain spreading throughout his body. Harry closed his eyes and stabilized his body. He noticed the mana particles dancing around his body as they were being sucked inside his body. The rate that the mana particles was being absorbed by Harry subconsciously had tremendously risen. He did not know why or how his body had suddenly become a vacuum for mana particles. Upon checking his mana network, Harry found that it was no longer there. Instead of the usual complex network that existed, much like the map of the underground tube, his whole body was giving off a faint, dull glow. "What's going on?" thought Harry, frowning. "Normally, after absorbing this much mana and at this speed, my mana reserve would have long been filled. So why? Could it be? No way. That's too fast." Harry's eyes suddenly shot open as they showed both confusion and excitement. "Status window," muttered Harry under his breath. Name, Harry Potter. Age, 11. Level, 16 EXP, 0/160,000. Health point, 15,000 mana point, 0/15,000. Vitality, 150 strength, 150. Agility, 150 intelligence, 150. Wisdom, 150 dexterity, 150. Attribute points, 160. It really is mana deficiency I'm suffering from, thought Harry. My fight with the troll must have pushed me to forcefully level up. And all of my attributes have been pushed up to 150. My intelligence and wisdom had already reached 150 points a week ago though. And the experience bar have returned. Sigh. It seems that I actually needed to max out my attributes at level 15 before leveling up. What's this attribute points that has suddenly appeared? Harry focused his attention on the new line of information that had appeared in his status window. Suddenly a new panel appeared, surprising Harry. Attribute points that are awarded each time host gains a level to distribute on an attribute of choice. 10 attribute points per level. I see, muttered Harry. The level up has increased my health point and mana point to an astronomical amount. This is quite ridiculous. I don't know who I compare to now. But simply going attribute points, I seem quite overpowered for someone my age. But this works in my favor if I'm to face Voldemort. Now let's have a look at my abilities. Ability window. Abilities. Sharingan, level 3, 3 Tomo, EXP, 1500/3000. Mana Sense, beginner, C+. Allows user to sense mana in the air. Regeneration, beginner, C+. Allows user to recover from fatigue and light injuries at 2.5 times normal speed. Mana Regeneration, intermediate, very happy face. Allows user to recover 500 mana points per minute. Mana Absorption, rank, C. Multiplies the speed of mana regeneration by 2. Mana Circulation, rank, C. Multiplies the effect of regeneration by 2. Physical Endurance, rank, E+. Increases the body's durability, allowing for less damage to be taken. Mana Armor, rank, C+. Allows user to create a coat of armor using mana to increase both attack and defense. Increased mana affinity, rank, B. Allows user to become more sensitive to mana and handle it better. Intermediate mana control, rank, B+. Allows user to have better mana control than the average wizard. Dungeon creation, rank, E. Allows user to create an alternate dimension that only user can enter with a set number of floors in accordance to user's strength. A new floor can unlock every time user gains 5 levels. Current floor number, 4 floor. Wing Chun Kung Fu, rank, B+. A traditional southern Chinese Kung Fu styles in close-range combat. Increases user's attack and speed powers. Mana strikes can be used when actively combined with mana infusion. Wow! That's quite the abilities I have, exclaimed Harry. Not bad with only 2 months of training time. But if I were to add the extra 6 hours I gain with the time turner, that'll bring me to almost 3 months. Now let's check my skills. Skills window. Charms, Mastery, Beginner, C+. Transfigurarian, Mastery, Beginner, C+. Potions, Mastery, Beginner, C+. Dark Arts, Mastery, Beginner, C+. Herbology, Mastery, Beginner, C+. Dueling, Mastery, Beginner, C+. So my skills in all these subjects have increased to C+ rank, said Harry. My hard work has definitely paid off. By the end of the year, my skills should reach peak of intermediate level. That is good progress considering it gets harder to advance the higher the levels become. Mr. Potter. Why are you not resting? Asked a stern voice. Madame Pomfrey, said Harry in surprise. I am resting. Did I wake you up? No, I just came to check up on you, replied Madame Pomfrey. How are you feeling? Very hungry, replied Harry. I'll feel much better with some food if you have any. I'll get you some from the kitchen, said Madame Pomfrey. You truly are a reckless student, Mr. Potter. And that headmaster of our. It is times like this where I have the urge to examine that head of his to see if he has a screw loose. Allowing first years to face a mountain troll. The nerve of that man. Madame Pomfrey's figure briskly went out of sight as she kept muttering under her breath. Ha ha ha. She might be the only staff in this school who will openly criticize Dumbledore. Ha ha ha, laughed Harry. As he waited for the matron to return with the food, Harry returned to meditation as he actively absorbed the mana particles. He was shocked at the speed of it. Never in the 2 months of starting his training had he ever absorbed the mana particles at such a speed. If his previous speed was like water flowing through a hole, his current mana absorption was like water bursting through a dam. After recovering from his initial shock, he was extremely pleased. This meant less time would be wasted before he could return to his usual daily affairs of studying and training. Harry woke up bright and early the next morning. Although he was not back to full power and his muscles were still sore, he was feeling much more energetic. Last night as he was meditating, Harry had discovered that his mana network had blended into one, covering his entire body instead of the usual mana network lines he had previously. Now, he felt he could freely control the mana in his reserves and send it to any part of his body with no obstruction. However, he had also made another discovery. The mana particles he was absorbing, whether passively or actively, was instantaneously being sent to nourish his bones and muscles, strengthening them and making them more compact. Despite the dull ache, Harry could feel his body getting stronger and stronger. He felt his body was being molded into something far more superior than before. After doing his usual morning stretching, Harry was examined by Madame Pomfrey and was told he could be discharged later on. She also told him to take the day off from classes to rest since his body was still sore. She would inform the headmaster. Harry was glad he was not going to classes as he had other plans. When he had just finished having breakfast, Harry's influx of visitors started. Ron, Hermione, Daphne, Fred, George and Oliver would all came in at the same time, bombarding him with questions. "Harry, how are you feeling?" asked Daphne tearfully as she threw herself on his arms, much to Hermione's annoyance. "I'm fine, stop crying you silly girl," said Harry, rubbing the blonde girl's head. "I'm just worn out and all my entire body aches." "Harry! That was a very stupid thing to do," said Hermione angrily. "Dumbledore was there. Why did you have to face that troll? You could have died." "Hermione, relax," said Harry, trying to comfort her. "I didn't die and the fight with the troll helped me more than you know. So relax." "Harry, I'm glad you're all right," said Oliver with a smile. "I don't know what would have happened if you were out of commission before the Quidditch against Slytherin." "I'm sorry, Oliver, I don't know if I'll be fit enough for tomorrow's match," said Harry, with an apologetic smile. "You're in luck, Harry," said Fred. "Yeah, Dumbledore personally had tomorrow's match extended to next week," said George. "Why?" asked Harry. "Because of you, mate," said Ron, grinning foolishly. "And the most surprising thing is, Snape didn't object." "Now that you mention it, Snape's Gryffindor bashing behavior has been reducing this year," said Oliver. "I don't know why though." "Don't tell me you miss him bullying us?" asked Fred, looking shocked. "No, on the contrary, I'm actually glad," said Oliver. "If things look up, who knows, he might even treat us fairly." "Keep dreaming, mate," said Fred, rolling his eyes. "If that happens, Pig might fly." "When's the match been scheduled for?" asked Harry. "Next Saturday," replied Oliver. That's long enough," said Harry thoughtfully. "Oliver, how would you like the team to receive a power boost?" "I would like nothing more, Harry," replied Oliver excitedly. "What do you have in mind?" "Fred, George, teach the team Phase 1, Broom Core Control," said Harry, turning to face the twins. "Oliver, listen to Fred and George. They know what to do. You guys should go now and prepare. I'll be busy this week and so will the team. Meet me at the Gryffindor Common Room on Saturday morning." "Hey, Daphne, when are you going to let go of me?" "Ah, sorry, it was just so comfortable holding you," replied Daphne, blushing. "HN," snorted Hermione, looking more pissed. "Before we go, Harry, I must say you were bloody amazing facing that troll last night," said Fred excitedly. "Yeah, Harry, the whole school's talking about it," said George. "How does the whole know?" asked Harry, bewildered. "A little birdie talked," said Oliver, smiling mischievously. Everyone looked at Daphne, causing her to blush even more as she lowered her head. "Anyway, hope you get back in top form quick, Harry," said Oliver. "I'm sure the whole team will be more than happy to hear you're now all right. Fred, George, let's go. We have much to do, I presume." "You presume well, my friend," said George, grinning from ear to ear. "Just wait until we teach you what Harry came up with," said Fred, following George and Oliver. "It'll knock you off your broom." "Ha ha ha," laughed Harry. "Knocking him off his broom. So funny." "Ha ha ha, I know, right?" said Ron, catching on. "What are you two laughing at?" asked Hermione, pouting. "Inside joke, you wouldn't get it," said Ron, shrugging his shoulders. "Hey, Hermione, you're not going to hug me?" asked Harry, noticing an argument coming up. "HN. Who wants to hug you, Potter?" asked Hermione, crossing her arms across her chest. "Come on, I know you want to," said Harry, with a teasing smile. "Nope," said Hermione, turning her head. "I've been told I've got a comforting hug," said Harry, getting out of bed. "Harry, she doesn't want a hug," said Daphne with a slight blush. "I don't mind another hug." "Maybe another time," said Harry to a disappointed Daphne. "First I need to get Madame Pomfrey to discharge me. Don't you guys have a class to go to?" "We do, but Harry, what was that yesterday you used?" asked Daphne with curiosity. "A secret, Daphne," said Harry, placing a finger on his lips. I hope you didn't tell everyone about that. No, I just told them you defeated the troll, said Daphne with a sweet smile. I figured it might be a secret and hoped that you can teach me. Harry looked at Daphne. She looked back at him, maintaining her sweet and gentle smile. Daphne, if I'm going to teach you, said Harry before trailing off. Yes, I'll keep it a secret, said Daphne, nodding her head. No, I don't care, you might as well tell them, said Harry, waving his hand. What? Exclaimed Daphne, looking dumbfounded. You don't even know what you saw, so how are you going to explain it to anyone? Asked Harry, looking at Daphne with a poker face. That. Exactly, said Harry in a cold tone. So, care to try again? I'm sorry, Harry, said Daphne in embarrassment, looking down. Daphne, for a Slytherin, you're a good person, but for you to try and blackmail Harry was a big no-go, said Ron. If you had just asked him, he wouldn't have refused. We're all friends, after all. Seriously, that was such a bad way to blackmail him, said Hermione, rolling her eyes. I'm really sorry, Harry, said Daphne, looking at Harry. I can understand if you no longer want to be friends with me. No, we can still be friends, but you'll have to bear the punishment for trying to blackmail me, said Harry with an evil smile. What's the punishment? Asked Daphne as cold sweat trickled down her spine. First answer this question, why do you want to learn what I used yesterday? Asked Harry. One of my ancestors was inflicted with a curse that resurfaces in one of their descendants, leading them to their death, replied Daphne with a sad face. I want to get stronger and find a way to cure the curse, as there's a chance it may resurface in me. Are you talking about blood malediction? Asked Harry, as he cupped his chin with his hand. You know of it? Asked Daphne in surprise. I read it in one of the books in the library, said Harry. I didn't know your family carried such a curse. Harry, what's blood mail thingy? Asked Ron, confused. Blood malediction, it's a debilitating condition that could resurface in the victim's descendants, said Harry, deep in thought. It's a condition very similar to leukemia, where the blood cell development process is interrupted by uncontrolled growth of abnormal cells. The abnormal cells stop the blood performing important functions such as fighting disease. It weakens the one suffering from it, leading to a premature death. Oh my God, that's terrible, said Hermione, feeling sorry for Daphne. I'm sorry about that, Daphne, said Ron. I'll help you out to find a cure, Daphne, but you still have to face the punishment, said Harry, seriously. Thank you, Harry, but, said Daphne. No buts, snapped Harry. Trying to blackmail me is a big mistake. And you're so bad at it. You have a lot to learn, young lady. Harry, you're not teaching her blackmailing, said Hermione sharply. Who said anything about teaching her? Asked Harry with a stunned face. Nobody said about not teaching her either, ha ha ha, laughed Ron. Aha, the wonderful life we lead, sighed Harry with pondering gaze. Quite wonderful, indeed, said a voice behind the group of friends. They turned around to see a smiling Dumbledore standing behind them. You three seem to be late for your first lesson, said Dumbledore. History of magic might be quite dull but helpful nonetheless. We're going right away, Professor Dumbledore, said Hermione as she shuffled away with Ron and Daphne. Quite the lively group of friends you have, young Harry, said Dumbledore, turning his attention to Harry. Quite so, replied Harry, returning to his bed as he smiled. How are you feeling? Asked Dumbledore, sitting next to Harry. My muscles ache and my magic low, said Harry. But it's nothing some food and rest can't cure. Madame Pomfrey said she'll discharge me today after yet another round of checkups. That's good to hear. You did give me a good round of shock yesterday with that stunt of yours. I would have thought you'd get used to it by now. If it was anyone else, perhaps. But you're quite a different case. I'm assuming you didn't just come for a friendly visit, Professor, said Harry with a knowing smile. Perceptive as always, Harry, said Dumbledore, returning Harry's smile. I'm not going to tell you about it, Professor, said Harry with a serious tone. At least not yet. You have a good reason for withholding that information, asked Dumbledore, surprised as not expecting Harry's refusal. 2, actually. First, I don't know much about it myself. 2, I highly doubt you're ready to tell me what I want to know. And what is it that you want to know, Harry? Why was it that Voldemort wanted to kill me in the first place? Why couldn't he kill me, and why didn't he completely die off when he failed? Asked Harry, looking at Dumbledore straight in the eye. There was a long silence between the headmaster and student as they stared deeply into each other's eyes. Each was waiting for the other to speak, and neither wanted to be the first to break the silence. Sigh, you're a lot calmer than you were when you first arrived, Harry, sighed Dumbledore, finally breaking the silence. The fight with the troll helped me in more ways than I thought, said Harry. Oh. Care to enlighten this old man? Asked Dumbledore, raising an eyebrow. For starters, it helped me to calm my mind and emotions that were in turmoil since I boarded the Hogwarts Express, said Harry. But more importantly, it helped me realize where I truly stand in my fight against Voldemort. All this time, I thought I would be fine as long as I was strong enough to fight him on my own. Oh, how wrong I was. What I'm up against isn't just Voldemort. It's his entire army of dark forces. Otherwise, how can one man, alone, with no army to back him up, cause such a widespread terror in the hearts of people who is even afraid to speak his name? Don't get me wrong, I'm not underestimating him. But to fight an army, you need an army yourself, don't you think? So what's your plans, Harry? Asked Dumbledore, his eyes twinkling. Increase my influence, replied Harry confidently. Not just in Hogwarts but also outside. My primary target is still Hogwarts since my presence is still here. You're referring to the Ministry of Magic as the outside source? Asked Dumbledore. Yes, that's my second target, replied Harry, nodding his head. My third target is the general wizarding community. I need to move into the eyes of the public to win their support, and what better way than through the Daily Prophet and the various different magazines to appear. That's a fine goal, Harry, said Dumbledore, smiling. But not yet, said Harry, cutting off Dumbledore. Not this year. I'm not there yet. There's an idea I have, and I will move into the limelight when that idea ready to pull off. Should I even bother asking what the idea is? Asked Dumbledore. No, I'll tell you first when it's ready, said Harry, smiling confidently. After Harry's conversation with Dumbledore, Madame Pomfrey ran one final checkup before discharging him from the infirmary. Harry wandered around the school grounds aimlessly as he was thinking about his 2-month stay in this magical world. One thing that became clear to him today was that he has been on the negative spectrum of the emotions quite a lot. He had gone from grieving for his mother's death, getting stupidly angry, to joking and flirting, to feeling happy and excited at new discoveries. He was not joking when he had said to Dumbledore that his fight with the troll had truly opened his eyes. When he was smashed by that troll's punch, it seemed that it had knocked off the reservations he had held about this world. He was no longer the old Harry Potter from his old world, nor was he the original Harry Potter of this world. He was a combination of the two. He now understood that he needed to fully embrace his new identity. With a calm mind and clear emotions, Harry made his way back to the Gryffindor common room while thinking about the lessons he had been taking. He had found herbology as an interesting subject and had developed a fondness for it, however, not to the same extent as charms, transfiguration and potions. Neville had become much more confident after a few interactions with Harry and had been able to shine much brighter after overcoming his initial shyness. Harry's sessions with Flitwick had been advancing smoothly. Flitwick had been teaching Harry how to cancel out spells cast by opponents, and they had been practicing with the disarming charm, Expelliarmus. Harry was expected to match the mana quantity of the opponent's spell with his own so they would for the cancellation of both spells to take place. Harry had been improving at a rapid pace and Flitwick had been increasing his mana output at every session. The idea was for Hire to hone his timing, judgment and mana output, and for these three to become a reflex. This had been the first goal of Harry's training. The second goal was to control the mana in his body to cancel out effects of spells that affected his status, such as the Disarming Charm, the Confundus Charm, Full Body Bind Curse, etc. Harry was still a little off, however. He felt that he would gain full proficiency over this aspect once he starts using the Room of Requirement and dungeon creation to further hone his skills. Harry's training with Snape was also progressing very well, as he was constantly forced to think outside the box with his views on magic. This had led Harry to start thinking of creating his own set of spells which he would be very proud of. Snape also had Harry learn Occlumency and Legilimency, to which Harry was very appreciative about, as it complemented his Sharingan a lot. Snape, at first, been reluctant about teaching Harry about potions, however, this soon changed when Harry's immense talent in potions was seen by him. This was not an opportunity for Snape to pass, as Harry's talent for potions was in no way inferior, if not superior, to Snape's. As Friday came closer and closer to an end and students started trickling out of their classrooms, Harry noticed he had missed out on the hottest topic after his battle with the troll, the Quidditch season talks. The games were being conversed about everywhere. Amongst all the talks, the position of Gryffindor Seeker was the highlight of the talks, as Oliver Wood had kept it quite even from the reserve team. Also, as Harry had already shown his overwhelming performance and the fact that as Seeker he was not required to perform any teamwork, he was seen even less on the Quidditch pitch. Harry remembered that Ron was able to get on the reserve team, and as fate would have it, his suitability lied with the keeper position. Oliver Wood was clearly impressed by his performance and had declared him as his successor, and he was included in the main squad's training regime. Harry was very happy for Ron, as this meant that the redhead would have something of his own he can brag about and would no longer be the jealous sidekick of Harry anymore. "Not training with the team, Ron?" asked Harry, sitting next to Hermione. Harry had returned to the Gryffindor common room to find Ron and Hermione sitting at the comfy chairs. "Fred and George are training them in their Phase 1, replied Ron with a foolish grin. "And since I've already mastered that phase, I was excused." "Hermione, you still mad that I was letting Daphne hug me for so long this morning?" asked Harry, looking at his favorite girl. Hug her all you want, who cares?" snorted Hermione. "Come now, Herms, you're still my number one girl," said Harry, putting an arm over her shoulder. "Stop being a player," said Hermione, trying to shrug his arm off. "I clearly see you flirt with both of us." "That's because I fancy you both," said Harry, smiling as he pulled her into his arms. "But you're still number one. I'll definitely marry you first as soon as we graduate from Hogwarts." "You're planning on having more than one wife?" asked Hermione, stunned. "Of course," declared Harry with a sly smile. "Just you and Daphne though. No more, no less. And I expect you to take care of her as the first wife." "Eek, get off me," shrieked Hermione, furiously blushing. "Who will marry a player like you?" "You and Daphne will," replied Harry, looking at the escaping Hermione. "And I'm not a player. I'm a seriously legit player." "Ha ha ha, you sure like teasing her, Harry," laughed Ron. "Look at her escape." "I was not teasing her," declared Harry with a serious face. "I'm being deadly serious." "Whatever," said Ron, shrugging his shoulders. "Anyway, I'm going to sleep now," said Harry, stretching. "I've got a new phase to tell you guys about in the morning." Next morning Harry, Ron and Hermione woke up at dawn and made their way to the school grounds. They met Daphne at the front of the Great Hall. "I had a breakthrough yesterday in my fight with the troll," said Harry, staring at his friends. "It's a combination of the first 4 phases with an extra step. Its function is to create a thin layer of armor that cover your entire body. There's a requirements to achieving this feat, to solidify your mana network lines to the point where they blend together and becomes one. The blending of your mana network lines increases your mana reserve, and if your body is not strong enough to handle that pressure, you will explode. I got lucky yesterday, very lucky, that I did not explode." At this point, Ron and Hermione had pale faces as they absorbed what Harry was saying. However, you don't have to worry too much, continued Harry. As long as you strengthen your body so it can bear the pressure of the increased amount of mana, you'll be fine. I would recommend that you absorb mana particles only after your mana reserve is empty. Ron, Hermione, you have both mastered mana absorption and circulation with movement. I will now teach you mana infusion. Harry, I've no idea what you're talking about, said Daphne with confusion. What is it that I'm supposed to do? For now I want you to train your body and I will teach you everything else after breakfast, said Harry. First start running some laps to build your stamina. By then I'll be finished with Ron and Hermione and I'll teach you some hand-to-hand combat. Why do I need to learn hand-to-hand combat? Asked Daphne, perplexed. It helps with the style of training that I've come up with by focusing your magic and gaining better control over it, explained Harry. Harry spent the rest of the day and majority of Sunday guiding Ron, Hermione, and Daphne in their respective trainings. Daphne's talent surprised Harry as she managed to sense mana particles in only one day and managed to master Phase 2 by Sunday evening. Harry still couldn't use magic yet as whatever he was absorbing was constantly being used with the nourishment of his bones and muscles. What came as a surprise was that his muscles were getting stronger and leaner as he slowly recovered. Harry took the entire week off from training and simply focused on his schoolwork, meditation and supervising the training of Ron, Hermione and Daphne. Fred and George also joined them as usual and Harry taught them mana infusion too. Harry went on to observe the Gryffindor team practicing on Friday, the day before match. He was greatly satisfied with their progress in their flying skills as well as their teamwork. Their morale was sky high and couldn't wait for the next to arrive. By now, Harry had fully recovered from his mana deficiency and was brimming with vigor. He too was filled with excitement for his first game of Quidditch. Oliver, I swear to you right now, if you start another speech, not only will I break your broom but also give up on the snitch, said Harry in a threatening voice. I know you want to go pro. I also know that from now until I graduate from Hogwarts, we will win every bloody match we play. So. Keep it shut. Very well, said Oliver, grimly. Don't worry. I will not allow the snitch to be caught until we are 200 points ahead, said Harry reassuringly. Thank you, Harry, said Oliver. It was Saturday morning and Harry was standing in front of the exit that lead to the Quidditch stadium, waiting for the announcement with the Gryffindor Quidditch team. About a minute later, they heard the announcement for their team and everyone got on their brooms, ready to kick off. Harry could feel the adrenaline coursing through him and his heartbeat getting faster and faster. As they heard the announcement a second time, everyone kicked off into the air. As he entered the pitch, he was hit by a huge cheer from the audience. Harry closed his eyes, relishing the feeling of being in the limelight, flying. A few seconds later, the Slytherin team also entered the Quidditch pitch. Upon seeing both ready, Madame Hooch followed after and blew her whistle, starting the match. Harry immediately flew up in the air smoothly at a safe height. He didn't want to chance himself getting attacked by the beaters. Harry looked around and saw his opponent also settling at a similar height. Both were waiting for the snitch to appear. As the two teams started to struggle for the possession of the quaffle, Harry was surprised to see the increased level of control the Gryffindor team had over their brooms. It seems like they've fully mastered their mana control, thought Harry. Fred and George have done better jobs than I had expected. Gryffindor had an overwhelming advantage with their keeper and beaters as Wood was arguably the best keeper and the Weasley twins were the best beaters. Fred and George's innate coordination and mischievous personalities were highly suited for their roles. Where Angela Johnson and Alicia Spinnet lacked in experience, they more than made up with it in their broom control and could pull off better maneuvers than the Slytherin teams. Once they had adjusted to the game, they quickly took control of the quaffle and made the first score of the season. Harry knew that once the team played all of their games this year and the training sessions that Oliver Wood was carrying out, they would have gained enough experience to easily become the #1 team next year. The game advanced and Gryffindor was able to maintain and further their lead thanks to the efforts of Oliver Wood. This reduced the pressure on the chasers who focused more and more on the offense. This is not good, thought Harry, frowning. They're placing too much reliance on Oliver and forgetting on their defense. I'll have to talk to Oliver about this after the game. At this point, an idea lit up in Harry's mind. He smiled slyly as he looked at the Slytherin Seeker and Keeper. Harry controlled the broom core as he shot towards the Slytherin Keeper. Higgs also shot straight after him, thinking Harry had found the snitch. As he couldn't catch up to Harry due to the speed difference of their brooms, Higgs barked at his team's beaters to knock Harry off his broom. Not needing to look around as he could sense the mana fluctuation in the air, Harry slowed slightly to allow the bludger to catch up to him. Harry willed his broom to take a sharp right as the bludger shot past him and hit the Slytherin Keeper straight in the stomach, taking him out of commission. Higgs swore at the smirking Harry. "Don't blame me, stupid Higgs," said Harry, laughing. "That bludger was aimed at me, remember? I simply dodged." Harry, at this point, flew back up to a safe height and continued watching out for the golden snitch while he also kept an eye out on the game. After having their keeper taken out, the Slytherin couldn't block out the Gryffindor chasers from scoring anymore. Not long after, the Gryffindor team was leading the game with a score of 250-40. The Gryffindor team's morale had taken a great boost once they saw the Slytherin Keeper being taken out. They became bolder with their gameplay as they were able to score more often. "That's good enough," said Harry to himself, smiling. "It's time for me to end the game." Harry extended out his mana sense and quickly found the golden snitch. Not bothering with Higgs anymore, he shot like a bullet, heading straight for the ground. The snitch was hovering a meter above the ground. The audience were cheering loudly as they saw Harry's daring yet dangerous vertical dive. Many had their hearts in their mouths at Harry's nose dive. Harry, on the other hand, wasn't worried as he had the highest level of control over his broom and could change its direction at a moment's notice. Harry opened his mouth and quickly pulled back up into the air. The snitch had folded its wings as soon as Harry's lips had touched it, and Harry quickly moved it into his mouth. Once he was high enough in the air, Harry noticed that both teams had stopped their play and were looking at him with stunned faces. Never in their lives had they ever seen a first-year pulling off such a risky maneuver. There was a pin-drop silence all around the stadium as both the students and teachers looking at Harry as if he was some sort of a monster. Harry's smile grew from one ear to Snotber as he took out the snitch from his mouth and held it up, high in the air. A deafening cheer almost blew Harry off his broom as Gryffindor's victory was announced. The Gryffindor team came together as Fred and George grabbed Harry and placed him on their shoulders as they enjoyed the overwhelming support and cheers they received. "Why hasn't Quirrell acted up yet?" thought Harry as he was waving at the cheering crowd. "Not that I'm complaining, but I've even had a mana barrier erected around me. Did he somehow noticed?" Harry turned his gaze towards the teacher's stand and felt two strong mana fluctuations where one was constantly cancelling out the other. "I guess I was too focused on the match to notice Snape and Quirrell's silent battle," thought Harry. "Hey guys, I think that's enough bathing in the limelight," said Harry to his teammates. "Let's get down." "As you say, since you're the star today, Harry," said Oliver happily. "But you'll have to teach us how you managed to pull off that Wronski feint." "Yeah, Harry, that was the most perfect Wronski feint I've ever seen," said Fred and George in unison. "That mana fluctuation looks a bit too strong for my taste," thought Harry as his team landed on the ground. "My mana shield may be able to absorb some of that force, but I don't want to be on its receiving end yet. Maybe in my 4th year when Voldemort comes back, but not yet." Once all of the Gryffindor house students had returned back to their common room, Fred and George threw a massive party to celebrate their first victory of the season and looked forward to winning the remaining matches and then the Quidditch Cup. Oliver was extra happy as that meant that his dream of joining the professional Quidditch League would become more realistic and he would have a better chance of getting scouted. The whole team were beaming with excitement and earnestly thanked Harry for his contribution to the team, not just for his part in winning the match, but also for having Fred and George helping them with their broom control. Harry had a warm feeling brimming up in his heart. He asked them to keep it a secret as he does not want everyone to know about it. They reassured him that his secret would be safe with them as they know just how powerful of a flyer it could make someone. The party went on for a very long time. Even McGonagall joined them, beaming with excitement and happiness, and heavily congratulated the team, especially Harry, for their win. "Now I can hold my head high and proud in front of Snape," said McGonagall to Harry happily. "I won't have to deal with his gloating face anymore." As the party was coming to an end, McGonagall left and everyone started to trickle away to sleep. Harry asked his teammates with Ron, Hermione, and Daphne to stay behind. "Guys, since we've worked so hard to win the match, I have decided to take us somewhere nice tomorrow," said Harry once everyone was gone. "Where do you have in mind?" asked Angela curiously. "How does Hogsmeade sound?" asked Harry with a grin. "But Harry, anyone below third year isn't allowed," said Alicia. "And even for third years and above, they can only go on select weekends." "Worry not, my pretty chaser," said Harry, placing hands on his hips. "Yours truly has received permission from the headmaster himself to go on any weekend I choose and take a select few friends with me. Don't ask me how or why, but I think it may be on the count of my awesomeness." The 2 weeks Christmas holidays had began and Hogwarts was covered in a thick blanket of pure white snow. The lake was frozen solid and Harry took this chance with the Weasley twins to have an ice skating competition that attracted a lot of attention. While the Gryffindor common room and the Great Hall had roaring fires, the cold corridors had become icy cold with the bitter wind that was having a constant battle with the classroom windows. The Weasley brothers were staying behind at Hogwarts with Harry since their parents were visiting their brother Charlie in Romania. Everyone Harry had been training had progressed immensely in their training. Ron, Hermione, Daphne, Fred and George had long mastered Stage 4, mana infusion, and had solidified their mana network to a very high level. They were very close to advancing to Stage 5, mana armor. Harry had them all focusing more on their physical training as he had discovered from experience how dangerous it was to advance to Stage 5 with a weaker physical body. He had explained to them how the body was simply a vessel for the magic they held in their body and how a stronger vessel was able to withstand a greater deal of pressure. Their control over magic had immensely grown and had won numerous points for Gryffindor and Daphne for Slytherin. Harry himself had grown considerably stronger physically. His control over magic was now above any 7th year and was steadily reaching the level of the Hogwarts teachers. He may not be a match for them yet in terms of battle prowess, but he was confident by the end of his 3rd year, he could hold his own, if not win against them. Harry's dueling skills had skyrocketed, both with a wand and wandless while training with Flitwick. He had also trained his Sharingan, albeit at a slower pace since he wanted to keep its abilities a secret. He was very close to unlocking his Mangekyo Sharingan. Whenever he got the chance, Harry would put Malfoy's 2 cronies, Crabbe and Goyle, under an illusion and make them do stupid stuff. One time while waiting for outside of the potions classroom, he had made them think their clothes, save for the underwear, were on fire and they had stripped. As soon as he had dispelled the illusion, they had run away on embarrassment. Everyone had laughed so hard at the duo, they had tears coming out of their eyes. Even Snape felt embarrassed because of them. Harry had sent a note to his aunt and uncle saying he would be spending the holidays in Hogwarts until the summer break, not that they would miss him. He had also informed his uncle to be on the lookout for a few companies and to invest in them as he would get a nice return from them. These companies were what he knew from his previous life, like Apple and Microsoft, which he knew would make them very rich. Harry wanted to make use of the Dursleys as he was still too young to be making any money in the Muggle world. He did not simply want to make money in the wizarding world, as he knew that once he expands his area of influence, he would eventually be in contact with the Muggle Prime Minister. He did not want to exchange galleons for British pound when he could make it through his uncle. Harry had included in the note that he had inside information that they increase in value over the years a lot. He also included a few other companies he remembered that would give a faster return on investment. He had also included he would be in receipt of 25% of the profits they would be making as commission, since it would be their money that would be used for the investment. From that, Harry was sure he would have enough to enter the property market in about 2 years' time. Occasionally, Harry would play wizard's chess with Ron and would flatten him every game. Ron's skills in chess had risen greatly as they shared pointers with each other. On Christmas Day, when Harry and Ron woke up at their usual time, Harry noticed a pile of presents at the foot of his bed. He looked over at Ron's bed to notice he had a bigger pile of presents and smiled. At least the presents he gets is more than mine. "Merry Christmas, Harry," said Ron, smiling sheepishly. "HN," replied Harry with a grunt. "You don't seem excited for Christmas," said Ron as he started opening his presents. "I don't see the point of getting excited," said Harry, shrugging his shoulders. "What are we even celebrating?" "According to Christianity, it's to celebrate Jesus' birth," replied Ron. "And are you a Christian?" asked Harry. "No," replied Ron, honestly. "But it's a national holiday, so why not?" "Well, celebrate it if you want, but I don't see any point," said Harry. "But I'm not one to refuse free gifts." Harry opened the first gift to find a roughly carved wooden flute from Hagrid. "It seems the timeline hasn't changed to the point of unpredictability yet," thought Harry as he smiled. "Now, to use my Sharingan or this flute to put Fluffy to sleep, ha ha ha, such a difficult choice." Harry opened the second, much smaller, parcel that also contained a note. "Harry, we've received your note with your present and have considered your advice. We hope it proves fruitful and you will know when you come home in the summer. We have enclosed your Christmas present. From Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia." Harry took the 50-pence coin that was taped with the note. "What a weirdly shaped coin," said Ron, sounding fascinated. "This is money." "You can have it," said Harry, tossing the coin to Ron. "Give it to your dad, I'm sure he'll appreciate it." The next two presents were as expected, a hand-knitted emerald green sweater from Mrs. Weasley with a large box of homemade fudge and a box of chocolate frogs from Hermione. The next one was unexpected as Harry received a good-looking robe. It was not tailored like the Gryffindor uniform. However, it had silver linings stitched around the edges of the robe. When Harry wore it, he noticed the shape of a winged unicorn stitched across the right chest of the robe. Once Harry read the note, he instantly knew who it was from. "Harry, who sent you this robe?" asked Ron, shocked. "It is from Daphne," said Harry casually. "It looks high quality." "Harry, these are the premium robes of Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions," said Ron in an excited voice. "It must have cost her a fortune. She must really like me to send me this gift," muttered Harry with a smile. "Harry, you have to treasure this robe," said Ron. "This is not a robe you can get easily." "Worry not, Ron," said Harry. "I look after precious presents very well. This will come very handy." Harry opened his last present and as expected, it was the invisibility cloak. Harry opened the note to see Dumbledore's narrow, loopy handwriting. "Your father left this in my possession before he died. Now it is time I returned it to you. Use it well. A very Merry Christmas to you." "Harry, is this what I think this is?" asked Ron, his excitement doubling. "Yeah, an invisibility cloak," replied Harry, smiling. "It's about time that old geezer gave me this." "Who sent it to you?" asked Ron, not taking his eyes off the cloak. "Dumbledore," replied Harry. "It once belonged to my father." Harry spent the day with the Weasley brothers, laughing, joking, acting silly. When dinner came, he enjoyed the Christmas dinner that was laid out in the Great Hall with all the students that had stayed behind. He may not celebrate the occasion, but he was not a fool to not enjoy himself in the perks it brought. Since the day he had crossed over to this world, he had worked very hard and hard work heavily paid off. He was on top of his studies to the point where he could ace his exams even if they were held the next day. He had advanced in his training to the point where he could duel toe-to-toe with any 4th or 5th year student. The only aspect that he was falling short on was the school's curriculum, however, he could still easily rival any 2nd year when it came to knowledge. Before the holidays began, he had asked all his teachers, save for Quirrell, if he could start practicing the second-year materials during class. They had responded that they would make an exception for him and allow him to sit his first-year exams after the Christmas holidays and would then teach him the second-year materials so long as he passed them. This made him very happy even if he could not sit the classes with the second years. The holidays had come to an end and during the first week of term, he was excused from classes so that he could sit the exams. Harry told Ron, Hermione, and Daphne about it at breakfast on Monday morning and all three had shocked expressions plastered on their faces. "I knew you were good, Harry, but not to the point where you'll be taking the end-of-year exams only after the first term," said Daphne, still shocked. "The stuff aren't that hard for me," said Harry, shrugging his shoulders. "What's going to happen with your classes, Harry?" asked Hermione. "I'll still be attending with you guys for the rest of the year, but I'll be studying second-year materials," said Harry. "Then that means come next year, you'll be with the third-year students," said Ron sadly. "We won't be in the same class anymore." "What are you talking about?" asked Harry, raising an eyebrow. "You three may not be ready for exams yet right now, but if you three want, I can help you prepare for both first-year exams as well as second-year exams," said Harry. "How are you going to do that?" asked Ron, confused. "Sigh, sometimes I wonder if you have any brain in that thick skull of yours," sighed Harry in exasperation. "You're still not realizing that I know all the materials for the first-year curriculum and I'll be starting the second-year curriculum from next week, you lazy ass. As long as you lose an hour of sleep every night and double your efforts, you can still ace your exams for both first-year and second-year exams." "But Harry, will we be allowed to sit 2 years' worth of exams together?" asked Daphne. "Daphne, you're forgetting who you're talking to," said Harry, narrowing his eyes. "I'll vouch for you guys as long as I feel the three of you are ready. But my words alone will not make much difference if you do not show sufficient competence. Since all of you started training with me, how has your spell casting been? Have any of you found any class we have had difficult after me tutoring you?" All three of them kept quiet. They knew that Harry was right. This was especially true for Ron, who had made great improvement in both his theoretical knowledge and his magical abilities. "All three of will be ready to take the first-year and second-year exams together with my help," said Harry with confidence. "Of course, Ron will struggle the most out of all three of you." "Why is that?" asked Ron. "Sigh, you're not as motivated to study as these two girls," said Harry, sighing. "You're smart but you're lazy and a procrastinator, and the only reason you've even improved as much as you have is because we're not messing around and you're spending most of your time with us." "Wow, that's spot on, but kind of harsh to point it out with no hesitation," said Daphne in surprise. "You can continue as per normal and I'll still tutor you as per normal, Ron," said Harry. "You will still be able to progress fine. But if you want to take the first and second-year exams together, you have to make changes to keep up with the demand. I have no intention of being in Hogwarts for 7 years when I can graduate early." "When are you planning to graduate?" asked Hermione, who has been quiet all this time. "If everything goes well, I want to graduate by the end my 5th year in Hogwarts," said Harry. "If not, by the end of 6th year." "What are you going to do once you graduate?" asked Daphne, who could not help but be curious. "You must have thought about it since you want to graduate early." "I want to travel around the world," replied Harry without hesitation. "After that, I will either become a teacher here at Hogwarts and eventually become headmaster or work to become the minister for magic. Or maybe I'll become both at the same time." "Has anyone told you you're crazy?" asked Daphne. "No, but if you do, you'll be the first," said Harry, smiling. "You're crazy," said Daphne, returning Harry's smile. "So guys," said Harry. "What's it going to be?" "Count me in," said Hermione immediately. "I have no intention of falling behind you any more than I already have." "Me too," said Daphne. "The quicker I get strong, the quicker I'll be able to find a way to break my family's curse." "Sigh, how can I be the only one between us that always lags behind?" sighed Ron. "I'm in as well. This is going to be a busy year." "Alright, I'm going to give you three a copy of my notes to study, said Harry. Study between yourselves as much of it as you can this week. I'm going to be busy with my exams this week. Once I'm done, I'll watch over your progress. Mr. Potter, said McGonagall as she approached him. Here is your exam timetable for this week. I wish you good luck. Thank you, Professor, said Harry with a smile. I have good news to share with you. What is it, Mr. Potter? Asked McGonagall, raising an eyebrow. Ron, Hermione, and Daphne have covered about 70% of the first-year materials and will finish everything by the end of January, said Harry. After that, I'll be teaching them the second-year materials. I'm June, they'll be ready to take both the first-year and second-year exams together. I admit they are ahead in their studies, but I'm not so certain they'll be able to cope with the pressure, said McGonagall, looking at them. If they are able to demonstrate their competence in both the theoretical and practical aspect of the subjects, can you please allow them to take their first-year exams at the end of the month? Asked Harry. I'm sure they'll be able to pass their exams with flying colors given the chance. I'll keep an eye on them in Transfiguration and I will inform the other professors about this, said McGonagall after a few moments pondering. I will allow it as long as I am satisfied with their progress for the next fortnight. Thank you, Professor, said Hermione brightly. I promise we will not let you down. It was Friday night and Harry was sleeping in the Gryffindor dormitories. He had finished his exams that day and had trained in the room of requirement until late that night. Having pushed himself harder than normal, he had been left exhausted. After meditating and recovering most of mana reserves, he had been dragged his feet to bed. Although absorbing mana particles relieved him of his physical fatigue, the same could not be said for his mental fatigue. He still needed to sleep the mental fatigue off. Harry Potter. Harry shifted in his sleep. Harry Potter. What? Muttered Harry in his sleep. Harry Potter. Harry's eyes shot open in shock. He did not recognize the voice. Harry Potter. Who is that? Asked Harry, looking around. My name is Astrid Ventrue, the vampire princess, said the voice in Harry's head. I am in need of your assistance, Harry Potter. Where are you? Asked Harry. I am in the Forbidden Forest, replied the voice. Please come and meet me. It is very urgent. Do not block my telepathy, Harry Potter. I mean no harm to you or any of your kind. What do you need from me? Asked Harry. You should know I do not take kindly to anyone that invades my mind. Harry Potter, if I had another method of communication, would have done so, said the voice. Your mental defense is quite strong for one of your age. It is not easy for me to maintain this method of communication at this distance. Please, meet me in the Forbidden Forest. The fate of my people is at stake. Very well, but I will bring someone with me, said Harry. I hope you do not expect me to come alone. Of course not, said the voice. It is perfectly understandable. Also, if this turns out to be a trap, I will kill you in the most brutal way, said Harry in a threatening manner. I believe you, said the voice calmly. That is the reason why I have sought for your assistance. I know you do not take kindly to your enemies. How do I find you in the Forbidden Forest? Asked Harry curiously. I will wait for you at the entrance, replied the voice. The entrance that is connected to your school. Very well, said Harry, getting out of bed. It will take me about an hour or two to arrive. As soon as Harry said that, he felt the telepathic connection he had with that stranger disconnected. Harry quickly changed into his robes and immediately cast a few defensive charms on himself and ran towards Dumbledore's office. It did not take long before he reached the rotating staircase. Having given the password, Harry quickly ran inside Dumbledore's office. Professor. Harry called out loudly. Professor. Harry waited for a few seconds and was about to call out once more before the door behind Dumbledore's desk opened and the headmaster walked out in his blue pajamas, still sleepy. Harry, to what do I owe this unexpected visit at this late hour? Asked Dumbledore, looking at Harry. Professor, what do you know of the vampires? Asked Harry without hesitation. Not a lot aside from they're a secretive race, replied Dumbledore, fully awake. They keep to themselves and hardly ever interacts with other races. Why the sudden inquiry? One just contacted me telepathically, said Harry. The vampire claimed to be the vampire princess. Dumbledore's expression immediately warped into that of a great shock. Did this vampire princess state what she wanted? She asked for my help and is waiting for me in the Forbidden Forest, replied Harry. I don't know if this vampire princess is friendly or not, nor do I know if I'm strong enough to face her should she decide to attack me. Which is why I came to ask if you and Professor Snape would accompany me to meet her. Give me a moment to change, Harry, said Dumbledore before darting back to his bedroom. Harry didn't have to wait long before Dumbledore returned, fully dressed. Dumbledore into the air and pointed it in the direction away from his office. Harry saw something silvery dart out of it and streak away like a ghostly bird. That must be the communicating Patronus, thought Harry. I have to get this old man to teach me that. Let us depart, young Harry, said Dumbledore. Professor Snape will meet us at the Great Hall entrance. Vampires may number few, however their prowess is quite high. It's not wise to offend them, not to mention if their princess is waiting for you. Professor, you seem to know more than you're letting on, said Harry, walking beside Dumbledore. It would be best to tell me as much as you know. I doubt she would let me be until I helped her out. Worry not, Harry, said Dumbledore. You did well informing me. I will do everything I can to resolve this. I hope she beats you up quite badly, said Harry with a sour expression. That's not very nice, Harry, said Dumbledore in displeasure. I did not inform you so you could fight my battles, Professor, said Harry, frowning. Don't forget, not everything is in your control. You're forgetting I'm still your headmaster, said Dumbledore. You're forgetting she came to me, the student, for help instead of you, the headmaster, said Harry angrily. As much as I appreciate your help, headmaster, I do not take kindly to being controlled like an ignorant child. Harry was fuming inside and was doing everything he could to keep his emotions in check. Harry, you need to understand, not everything is about you, said Dumbledore, trying to keep his anger in check. Nor do you see me begging like a spoilt brat for the world to revolve around me, said Harry, pushing down his anger. I have a vampire princess coming to me asking for help. I come to you asking for information. I didn't have to inform you of my meeting with her. Professor Dumbledore, I received your message, said Snape as he saw Dumbledore and Harry walking towards the entrance door. And Mr. Potter is involved. Why am I not surprised? How did you get yourself entangled with a vampire princess, Mr. Potter? She approached me when I was sleeping, replied Harry. Snape noticed the sour expressions across Harry and Dumbledore's faces and was quite surprised. What happened for both Potter and Dumbledore to look angry, thought Snape. I could understand if it was just Potter, but the headmaster too. Let's go, Severus, young Harry has a meeting with a princess, said Dumbledore, taking the lead towards the Forbidden Forest. And do pray tell, which part of the Forbidden Forest is the meeting held? Asked Harry, tilting his head. Harry, this is important, let's go, said Dumbledore. Why are you so scared of vampires? Asked Harry, not moving from where he was standing. What is it you're not willing to tell me? Harry, dash. I'll find out eventually, so why can't you tell me now? Asked Harry, brows furrowed. The vampire clans are in civil war, said Dumbledore. So? That's normal, said Harry. Not for vampires, said Dumbledore, shaking his head. The only time they're in civil war is if the different clans are not in agreement with their next leader. So the princess has come to involve me in her mess, muttered Harry, pondering. Most likely, said Dumbledore, nodding his head. And this was so difficult to tell me, because the one who gets involved gets turned into a vampire, marries the princess and becomes the next vampire lord," said Dumbledore solemnly. "I see," said Harry with a smile. "I don't understand what was so difficult to tell me that information. Let's go and see our vampire princess." "You're not worried, Potter?" asked Snape. "Why should I be?" asked Harry, looking at Snape. "It's not like I want to be a vampire." The trio walked up towards the entrance of the Forbidden Forest and came face to face with a figure that could only be considered an otherworldly beauty. Harry was stunned. This woman had the hourglass figure that would put any model to shame. A red satin dress covered her slim, yet curvy figure. Her silky black hair rolled down her back reaching all the way to her waist. Her full red lips curved up into a bright smile as she locked her red eyes with Harry's. Harry waited. The vampire waited. Dumbledore and Snape waited. Nobody moved. They all simply waited. "You're not going to speak?" asked Harry when the silence became awkward. "I was waiting for you to break the silence," said Astrid. "Your voice is beautiful," exclaimed Harry subconsciously. Suddenly, Harry's eyes widened as his Sharingan got fully activated. Harry looked at the vampire princess as her smile widened. "My father was right about you," said Astrid sweetly. "You really are a gem." Harry kept quiet. He simply stared at the woman standing before him. "Not simply due to your eyes," continued Astrid, "but primarily due to your talent." Harry was unusually calm and patient. "He had a dream about you," said Astrid. "In the dream you caused our destruction. At first he wanted to eliminate you. But then he dreamed again. In the second dream, you were the one who saved us. My father dreamed for a third time. This time you were the vampire lord. Oh, the heights you brought us in that dream. You cured us. You broke our curse that limited our fertility. You came to find young Harry due to the vampire lord's dream?" asked Dumbledore. Astrid shot Dumbledore a glare. "We vampires never dream. If and we do, it becomes a reality. The fact my father dreamed 3 times in a row, we have a choice of 3 scenarios. It is clear what our choice is." "I'm sensing a but," Harry finally spoke. "But, not all clan leaders have the desire to owe a human anything," said Astrid. "They wish to eliminate you before you become the cause of our destruction." "Go home," said Harry, turning around. "Pardon?" gasped Astrid in surprise. Even Dumbledore and Snape were surprised at Harry's abrupt decision. "What do you expect from me?" asked Harry without looking back. "You invade my mind in the middle of the night and ask for a meeting. Then you tell me your old man's dreams. Were you hoping I would just follow you?" "I was telling the truth," said Astrid. "I would have found you more believable if you weren't using your charm on me," said Harry. "Besides, for someone whom you claim can make or break your clan of vampires, you sure are taking me too lightly." "Will you not stop him?" asked Astrid sweetly, looking at Dumbledore and Snape. "Don't bother with them. The old man is homosexual and the gloomy man is still in love with a dead woman," said Harry as he walked away. "Tell your vampire lord father if he truly believes in his dreams to be a prophecy, he needs to show himself personally." "As expected of Harry Potter," said a deep voice. Harry froze on the spot. He slowly turned his head to find a tall muscular man standing next to Astrid. "However, it is truly a surprise that your eyes are advanced enough to see through my mist," said the man. "You are?" asked Harry, narrowing his eyes. "Vlad Ventru, the vampire lord," said the man. "You're supposed to be a legend," said Harry, looking at the man from head to toe. "I truly did not expect you to be here personally." "You are the maker or breaker of my people, Harry Potter," said the vampire lord. "You are too important to not meet personally." "You sure have a weird way of showing it," said Harry in displeasure. "Forgive me, Harry Potter," said the vampire lord. "I had made an oath for any vampire to never enter the castle beyond the Forbidden Forest with your founders. That oath must be honored. "So what do you want from me?" asked Harry. "Marry my daughter, Astrid, and our curse will start losing its effect," said the vampire lord in all seriousness. "Huh? Come again," gasped Harry in shock. "Marry my daughter, Astrid, and our curse will start losing its effect," said the vampire lord again. "Just so you could increase your clan's fertility rate?" asked Harry, dumbfounded. "Your marriage will not just increase my people's fertility rate but also make us stronger. We will be in your debt for the rest of lives." "No. Pardon. I will not marry your daughter. Is there something that she's lacking? I just met her a few minutes ago, how am I supposed to know if she's lacking? Then why refuse her? I already have 2 potential wife candidates. It is perfectly normal amongst nobility to have more than one wife. I'm not nobility. Find another way to fix your fertility problem," said Harry before making his way back towards the castle. "There is," called out the vampire lord. "However, we would need you to become as strong as us vampires to dispel the curse." "Very well, come back when I'm strong enough," said Harry. "Harry Potter," said the vampire lord. "I would like my daughter to stay with you. As a method of communication with me, and to keep her safe from my enemies." "I have some questions," said Harry, looking at the vampire lord with his Sharingan glowing. "1. Why choose me?" "Because you have a soul stronger than anyone else in this planet," replied the vampire lord. "That must be due to my transmigration," thought Harry. Question 2. Why can you not enter Hogwarts? "We can, but we chose not to. We don't exactly want to create a panic, do we?" "Why does that sound like a lie?" asked Harry, eyes narrowed. "The vampires took an oath with the Hogwarts founders not to get inside the school grounds," chimed in Dumbledore, surprising Harry. "That was a surprise, Professor," said Harry with a smile. "For a minute there I thought you were all about withholding information. However, that does not explain how you could talk to Harry, telepathically," said Dumbledore, ignoring Harry. "I understand that all vampires have the ability, but to reach Harry in his dormitory room from this distance. Now you can't expect us to reveal all our secrets, do you?" asked the vampire lord. "Besides, young Harry Potter appears to have already guessed it." Harry found the 2 vampires, Dumbledore and Snape, staring at him. Harry shrugged his shoulders saying, "It's not my secret to reveal." Dumbledore gave Harry an annoyed look. "Vampire Lord, keep your daughter with you and go back," said Harry. "I'm sure you can find someone stronger who can help you. No one else is able to use mana particles like you, Harry Potter," said Astrid. "All right, I can't hold off this question anymore. How is it that you know all of this information about me?" asked Harry. "The seer in our family saw your powers," said the vampire lord. "Your family seer was awfully specific with the information about me," said Harry, frowning. "From what I know, they speak in riddles. Our family seer burnt her life force to see the details of her vision before revealing it to me," said the vampire lord. "Young Harry Potter," said the vampire lord, getting on his knees and bowing. "I truly desire to change my people's lifestyle for the better. My race is on the decline, and given a few more years, we may risk going extinct." "What are you going to do with the vampires who do not agree with you?" asked Harry. "I am willing to go to war with them if it means the survival of my people," replied the vampire lord. "How many have you told about this?" "The only ones who know are the elders of my Ventru clan." "How many of the vampires agree with you?" "From what I have gathered, about 30%. "What are you doing to increase that?" "We are actively improving our relationships with the other clans to gain their support. There are about 3 clans I'm not hopeful about, but as long as I will be able to handle them once the time comes." "For a vampire lord you sure have a small circle of support," said Snape curtly. "That support is only for the decision of changing our ways," replied the vampire lord. "It is mostly the oldest of my people who are remaining stubborn to keep our ways as it is. Come back and find me once you have more backers, vampire lord," said Harry. I'm already preparing to fight a war of my own and I do not have the time to be dragged into a war between your clans. Also, I will need the specifics of the curse you are inflicted with. I will help to lift the curse and in return I will want you to assist me in the war that I need to fight. Very well, said the vampire lord, standing up straight. I swear on my name Vlad Ventru that I will be your ally and friend until the end of time for your help in lifting our curse. I will bid you farewell for now, said Harry. The vampire lord and princess turned around and vanished from sight. If you are truly able to lift the vampire's curse and increase their fertility, you will have an incredibly powerful ally, Mr. Potter, said Snape, looking at Harry. I'm assuming the mana particles the vampire princess spoke of is related to the stunt you pulled against the troll. Yes, you want to learn it? Asked Harry, smirking. It's quite powerful. Maybe another time, replied Snape. I think I'll get back to sleep, asked Harry, yawning. I've only had a couple hours of sleep and I'm still tired. Harry, you need to be careful around the vampires, said Dumbledore. They are extremely dangerous creatures. More dangerous than Voldemort? Asked Harry with a raised eyebrow. Yes. There is only one Voldemort, however, there are many vampires. The older they are, the more dangerous they become. You're still planning on keeping me in regards to the vampires? Asked Harry. There isn't a lot I know about them as they are a very secretive race, said Dumbledore. I will try to find more about them. Arg, groaned Harry, clutching his scar. Are you all right, Harry? Asked Dumbledore. My scar, it hurts from time to time, but it just gave me a searing pain, said Harry through gritted teeth. Has it always been hurting? Asked Dumbledore, looking worried. No, it only started during the sorting. Very likely, nodded Dumbledore, stroking his beard. It appears he's on the move. Professor, I think you should answer my questions now, said Harry, rubbing his throbbing scar. I will but not right now, said Dumbledore after a moment's silence. There are a few things I'm trying to confirm and will answer all your questions after. I'm very close, Harry. I would appreciate it if you were patient with me. As long as you agree to tell me, I have no problem with waiting, said Harry. It's good to see you controlling your outburst, Harry, said Dumbledore with a smile. If I didn't know you could defend yourself against legilimency, I would have assumed you were being controlled by Voldemort. Ugh, allowing that dusting thing in my mind, exclaimed Harry, pulling a disgusted face. That must be my lowest moment. After that, Harry went back to his dormitory to sleep. However, his interaction with the vampires did not allow him to fall asleep. He knew storyline had already started to deviate from the original storyline. However, he did not know that these little splashes had caused such a huge wave that brought the vampires knocking his door for help. He knew that given his mastery over the mana particles, so long as he studied the structure of any spell once it activated, he would be able to formulate a way to dispel it. This theory of his had proven to work very well during his training with Flitwick. However, given that a new element had brought into the picture in the form of the vampires, uncertainties were also introduced. Harry's biggest advantage was his knowledge of what would happen in the storyline, and this new uncertainty truly scared him before he could lay his foundation. He was by no means a coward. However, his biggest weakness was his way of dealing with those who withheld information from him. As Harry lay in his bed thinking over his actions from when he was transported to this magical world, a realization suddenly hit him. Damn it, I've truly been an idiot, muttered Harry under his breath. System, can you come back online? Ding. Host finally realized his shortcoming. Wow, that was a fast response, said Harry in surprise. I thought you were offline. Ding. I was semi-offline. I thought you would have realized that by now. And you've changed your tone, said Harry in his mind as he smiled wryly. Of course I have. With your acceptance of me and your increase in strength have allowed me to update my interaction with you. System, I'm sorry for my outburst that night, said Harry in embarrassment. Apologies accepted. It has taken you a long time to come to your acceptance. I had originally thought you would start using me fully after I pretended to be your father. That was your doing, exclaimed Harry in shock. Yes. But I did not realize you were so stubborn that you would ever ignore your father's words. Even if that was not your real father. Wait. You mean that was just you playing with my father's image? Host, don't get angry. As I mentioned, we are fused together. My existence is tied together with yours. Sigh. I don't even know how to react to that anymore. So do I have enough authority to get answers now? No, you still do not have the authority to give you any answers. Who has the authority, then? Asked Harry. The one who created me. However, due to you ordering me to go offline, there has been adjustments made to my functions. I no longer have the function to take you to other worlds. The Heaven's Path Divine Arts Manual and the free system credits given to you have been also removed from the inventory. The shop function has now been modified and is currently unavailable to you. The way you level up has also changed. You will no longer receive EXP points and will only level up once your physical attributes have been maxed to the corresponding level. However, your intelligence and wisdom must always be 1/5 of your level. I had a feeling using you at this point would bring some changes, but I didn't expect it to be like this, said Harry. There's always a reaction to any action, Harry. Wow, you changed your tone again, said Harry. You still sound mechanical though. Well, no matter. What now? First check your status. Status, muttered Harry. Name, Harry Potter. Age, 11 level, 30. HP, 2750 MP, 2030 Vit, 275. STR, 260 Dex, 270 Agi, 269. Int, 203 Wis, 205. Attribute points, 300. My stats have grown nicely, said Harry. System, now that you're back, what does that 300 attribute points do? They have been accumulating every time I leveled up. They can be used to increase any of your attributes. I can't say I'm not surprised you never noticed this before since you never bothered to explore my functions. Do you want me to distribute them for you? Yes, distribute them equally between intelligence and wisdom, replied Harry. They've become harder to raise. Done. Your intelligence and wisdom has reached the maximum points for your level, which is 300. You still have 112 attribute points left. Do you want to distribute them between your physical attributes? Harry suddenly felt a jolt in his head that left him slightly lightheaded. That feels strange, muttered Harry. No, leave them as they are. I'll distribute them to intelligence and wisdom once I level up. Check the missions window. There are missions that have been completed but you have not claimed them yet. There are also new missions available. Mission window, muttered Harry. Mission alert, train your friends in mana sense. Reward, 1 attribute point increase on each attribute. Status, complete, claim, yes/no. Hey system, I've already maxed out wisdom and intelligence, said Harry. What's going to happen to the points for them? They will be placed in your free points pool that you can use later. Thank God it won't be wasted, muttered Harry as he claimed the reward. Mission alert, train your friends in mana absorption. Reward, 2 attribute points increase on each attribute. Status, complete, claim, yes/no. Harry claimed this reward too. The next 3 missions were also to train his friends. 2 missions wanted him to train them in stage 3 and 4 of his mana particle training, rewarding him a total 7 attribute points for his attributes. The 3rd mission was to train them in Kung Fu, offering him 5 attribute points for each of his attributes. System, why has the mission so far been about training others? Asked Harry. Because you cannot fight your enemies alone. You need an army, and who better to have your back than your friends? Continue looking through the missions. There are also those that asks you to increase your own strength. What kind of a leader would you be if you were weak yourself? A smart mouth, you have developed, said Harry, returning his attention to his missions window. Mission alert, become level 10. Reward, 2 attribute points increase on each attribute. Status, complete, claim, yes/no. Harry claimed that reward, as well. He also claimed the rewards of the missions for leveling up to level 20 and level 30 that increased each of his attribute points by 4 and 5 respectively. The next level up mission was for Harry to reach level 40, offering him a 5 points increase for a successful completion. I guess it would be too much of a cheat if my rewards increased each time, muttered Harry. The fact that you are able to increase your power level with my help is already considered a cheat. I figured already, said Harry with a nod. I just need to figure out the best way to utilize you. For now focus on completing your missions. Check your second active mission. You're going to love the reward. Harry returned his attention to the missions window and clicked on the mission. A new window opened. Mission alert, gather information. Mission description, gather information on James Potter, Remus Lupin, Sirius Black and Peter Pettigrew. Mission reward, Shadow Clone Jutsu. You can't be serious, exclaimed Harry. A technique from my Old Worlds manga? Why not? You're already in a world that is considered fiction in your old world. True, the Shadow Clone Jutsu will make it so much easier to get stronger, said Harry, starting to get excited. That is why I warned you that you will regret your decision when you ordered me to shut down. No point brooding over spilled milk, ahaha, laughed Harry. But I'll have to change my plans now. With the Vampire Lord asking for my help, the timeline have already changed a lot. They seem to know a lot about me. All the more reason for you to become stronger. If everyone finds out about your discovery of mana particles, your life will be in immense danger. I have already realized that, said Harry, closing his eyes. Which is why I've been very careful who I have taught it to. You were right in choosing to expand your area of influence. I'll be ready to strike a deal with Fudge soon, said Harry with a smile. The prototype of protective clothes are ready. Are you sure you want to use the Weasleys as a front? I've changed my mind about that, said Harry. With other races like the vampires on the move, I can't remain behind the scenes anymore. I'll need to gather as much influence as I can while I can. I'll have to get Dumbledore to bring that jerk of a Cornelius Fudge here. Harry looked over to his bedside table and reached out for the clock. He raised his index finger as its tip lit up, illuminating the clock. Harry saw it was already 5:15. Despite being sleepy, Harry did not bother going to sleep. He got up and changed before waking Ron up for their usual morning workout. Harry was surprised at the changes his increased stats brought. Although he hadn't fully adjusted to his increased stats, he was still able to increase the intensity of his training by a large margin. There was no one who could match him when it came to hand-to-hand combat despite training together with him, be it with technique or physical prowess. Harry's breakthrough to stage 5 had done more than increase his mana capacity, it had strengthened his body to a very level. You like what you're seeing, ladies? Asked Harry with a smirk as he flexed his muscles. Harry noticed that Hermione and Daphne had been starting at him throughout the training session. It's just that you look very athletic, replied Hermione with a blush. Want to touch the awesome muscles I possess, ladies? Asked Harry with a smirk. No thanks, you're covered in sweat, replied Daphne, turning her blushing face away. Guys, how far are you from stage 5? Asked Harry, deciding not to tease them too much. We're very extremely close, replied Fred, excitedly. Yeah, I think we'll get there in about a week, said George, equally sharing his brother's excitement. I'm still a little behind, said Ron sadly. Me and Daphne too, said Hermione. I think we'll need about a month before we'll advance. Guys, cheer up, you're all doing very well, said Harry encouragingly. Fred and George's bodies are more developed as they're 2 years older than us. If we were all the same age, we would have progressed the same. Our physical and magical abilities have all advanced beyond our current years. Then how did you advance too early? Asked Ron gloomily. My fight with the troll helped out a lot, replied Harry. At that time my body was too weak to handle the amount of mana particles in my body. Remember how I was that day? If the troll hadn't punched me and expelled majority of the magic from my body when I used the mana shield, I would most likely have died from mana overload. So keep training your bodies and take things one step at a time. Ron, Hermione, and Daphne's faces went pale when they remembered how Harry had been behaving during Halloween. However, they quickly cheered up with Harry's encouragement and happily started walking towards their dorms for a hot bath. Fred, George, how's the other training going? Harry whispered to the twins. They slowed down their speed so that the others wouldn't hear them. It's great, said Fred excitedly. We're ready to go whenever you are, said George, smiling from ear to ear. Good, I'm going to ask Dumbledore to get the Minister for Magic to pay us a visit, said Harry smiling. We're going to give him a few prototypes to try out before we start taking orders, said Harry. Harry, you have a good mind for business, asked Fred. I still can't believe you have came up with so many different ideas. Fred, one step at a time, said Harry. System, can I teach the shadow clone jutsu to others? Asked Harry in his mind. Yes, there should be no problem. However, you should place the requirement as stage 5 for them to learn since you're basically having your mana reserve every time you create a clone. There is a new spell I am working on which is super awesome, said Harry, smiling widely. I'll teach it to you too as soon as I'm done learning it. But you two should be at stage 5 at the minimum since it uses a huge amount of mana. That's awesome, Harry. What spell is it? Asked Fred and George in unison. I can't ruin a surprise, now can I? Said Harry, grinning slyly. Don't worry, it will be ready by the time you two hit stage 5. One more thing, bring the team to our morning training starting tomorrow. Later that day, Harry decided to head over to Hagrid's hut to visit him since it was Saturday. Harry liked the half-giant a lot. Harry would make sure to visit him in his house every Saturday and he was always warmly welcomed. Although Harry could not say the same thing about the Hagrid's cooking. Hagrid had no skill whatsoever in that aspect. Harry had tried many times to teach him how to cook, only to end up in complete disaster. Harry ended up bringing food from the kitchen with him during his visits and they both enjoyed it a lot. Hagrid, called Harry as he knocked on Hagrid's door. Hagrid, are you home? Harry, I'm out, came Hagrid's voice from behind his hut. What are you doing out in the cold, Hagrid? Asked Harry as Hagrid came to open his hut's door. I had gone to the library, replied Hagrid. Looking up books on dragons maybe, asked Harry following Hagrid inside his house. How do you know that? Asked Hagrid, slightly nervous. A wild guess, replied Harry as he looked at the roaring flame in his fireplace. So it's true. You do have a dragon's egg. Seriously, how do you know? Asked Hagrid. I saw you with books on dragons in the library, said Harry, walking up towards the fireplace. When is the egg going to hatch, Hagrid? It's going to take a couple weeks. I can't wait till it hatches, replied Hagrid excitedly. You should get in contact with Charlie Weasley and ask him to raise it for you, said Harry. You know you can't raise it here in Hogwarts. Sigh. I know Harry, said Hagrid with a sigh. Please don't tell anyone about it. Your secret's safe with me, Hagrid, said Harry with a smile. How did you get the egg anyway? I won it last night from a guy, said Hagrid happily. I was down at the pub in the village having a few drinks when I got into a game of cards. He seemed glad to get rid of. Do you know what dragon this egg will hatch into? Asked Harry curiously despite knowing the answer. Of course, it's a Norwegian ridgeback, said Hagrid proudly. Quite rare, they are. By the way, I wanted to ask about something important, Hagrid, said Harry, looking at the half-giant. What do you want to know, Harry? Asked Hagrid. Can you tell me about my parents? Asked Harry, sitting down on a chair in front of Hagrid. "Your father was a clever student while here at Hogwarts but also very mischievous," said Hagrid with a smile. "He always got into trouble. He was very proud and always showed off. But he was a very good person. He had a strong rivalry with Professor Snape. They never liked each other. Now your mother was an uncommonly gifted woman. She was a very smart witch and very popular. She was very kind. She was a Muggle-born like your friend Hermione. She was a great beauty and had a lot of boys were attracted to her." "What can you tell me about my father's friends?" asked Harry. "I don't know much about his friends, Harry," said Hagrid frowning. "I'm not the best person to ask about them." "Come on, Hagrid, I know you knew them," Harry urged Hagrid. "There's no way you didn't know them." "I've already told you, Harry," said Hagrid, abruptly standing up. "It's best you go for now." "There's a secret, isn't there?" asked Harry with a frown. "Something happened to them, didn't it?" "I don't know what you're talking about," said Hagrid, refusing to say anything. "Hagrid, please," pleaded Harry. "I just want to know more about my parents and their friends." "I already told you I know nothing, of you go you," said Hagrid, ushering Harry out of his hut. "Hagrid, did one of my father's friends betray him?" asked Harry, standing in front of Hagrid's hut. "Now what makes you ask such a thing?" asked Hagrid angrily. "Because you were so happily about both my mother and father, but as soon as I mentioned their friends, you turned weird and stopped talking about them," said Harry. "Tell me about them. I have a right to know." "I know nothing, Harry," said Hagrid, slamming his hut's door shut. "Well, a lot of good talking to him did," muttered Harry, walking away. "And here I thought it would be easy to get information from him. Sigh. Dumbledore's my best choice, I guess. I really don't like dealing with that old man. He tells me one thing but keeps the rest a secret." Harry slowly made his way back towards the castle in deep thought. Getting information out of Dumbledore was no easy task and Harry knew that. The old man was a sly old fox and tricking him into revealing information was next to impossible. Harry also could not come up with a good enough reasoning to ask about Sirius and Pettigrew without drawing suspicions to himself. "Maybe I should try that," thought Harry, rubbing his chin. "That seems like the only method I can think of that might even remotely work. Lashing out on him in anger right off the bat might backfire." A few minutes later, Harry was sitting in front of Dumbledore in his office. "What can I do for you, Harry?" asked Dumbledore. "You don't seem to have gotten much sleep." "Sleep doesn't seem to come to you when all you have is nightmares," said Harry grimly. "About the vampires?" asked Dumbledore. "No, not the vampires," replied Harry, waving his hand. "Professor, how can you still not tell me anything about my parents?" "Harry. I don't want to hear any more excuses, Professor," said Harry, cutting off Dumbledore. "I'm not an idiot. It's so obvious you knew them. Don't I have a right to know about my parents? Why are you keeping information about them a secret from me?" "Harry, you're not ready yet," said Dumbledore sadly. "Is this a joke to you?" said Harry, his voice raising. "You're personally training me to fight against the man who killed my family. But you say I'm not ready to know about my parents? What kind of an illusion are you living? Harry dash. Don't harry me. Look at you. The most powerful wizard alive is too scared to reveal how 2 wizards were killed to their own son. Do you even understand what you're doing to me? Do enlighten me, Harry, what am I doing to you? You are pushing me away. You are fully aware that I'm prepared to face off against the man who killed my parent. But you are still not willing to trust me with the knowledge of why Voldemort killed my parents and how. I'm not pushing you away, Harry. That is exactly what you're doing, old man. What is it that is tying me down in Hogwarts? What is it that is stopping me from leaving this place? What is it that is making me place my trust in you? What? Tell me. Harry, I will tell you everything when the time comes. You have to trust me. No, old man. No. I already trusted you when I came to you on the first day of term in September. I trusted you the day after Halloween in the hospital wing. I trusted you with my secrets. I trusted you as my parents trusted you with me. Yet you betrayed their trust and you sent me to an abusive family. You are also betraying my trust by withholding information from me about my parents. Why should I trust you? I have no reason to trust you. Harry, I'm doing this for your own good. My own good? What is good for me is to live with my parents who love me instead of an aunt and uncle who hate the sight of me. What is good for me is to know why my parents died. What is good for me is for you to return the trust one placed in you. Can you do these things for me? Asked Harry, tears rolling down his cheeks. How do you even sit there not feeling guilty? How can you just sit there and not realize what you're doing is worse than what Voldemort did to me? Just how? Very well, Harry, said Dumbledore in a grave tone. I will tell you everything. Dumbledore started off with when Harry's parents first entered Hogwarts. He then explained their brilliance and how they never got along until their 7th year. Dumbledore told Harry of the rivalry James built with Snape to how they were always at odds end. He described James' friendship with Remus Lupin, Sirius Black and Peter Pettigrew. Dumbledore told Harry of James and Lily's marriage and when he was born. He then, in a very grave tone, told Harry how Sirius Black betrayed them as their secret keeper and how Peter Pettigrew confronted Sirius and got blown up by Sirius alongside all those muggles. Dumbledore also mentioned how Sirius is in Azkaban now. Harry remained silent and simply listened. He did not say anything as he sat there in Dumbledore's office in deep thought, thinking over and over about what Dumbledore had revealed to him. I know it's a lot to take in, Harry, said Dumbledore in a sad tone. Was Pettigrew a skilled duelist? Asked Harry suddenly. No, the poor fool was no match for Sirius, said Dumbledore. And he got blown up by Sirius and nothing of him was found except for his finger. That's right. And the muggles? Was their body parts found? Yes. Was Remus and Sirius the most likely choice of becoming the secret keeper? Of course, since they were much more likely at surviving an encounter with Voldemort. Would you have suspected Pettigrew to have secretly become the secret keeper? Asked Harry, looking at Dumbledore straight in the eye. Harry, you can't possibly be saying that the secret keeper was changed to Peter, exclaimed Dumbledore in shock. Why not? Asked Harry, tilting his head. You said it yourself. Remus Lupin and Sirius Black were the obvious choices. Who would consider a weak and cowardly Pettigrew to be the secret keeper? Even if you're right, Harry, it still doesn't change the fact that Sirius betrayed. Dumbledore suddenly stopped and looked at Harry in shock. You get it now? Asked Harry. If Sirius Black was truly the traitor, why would he make Pettigrew the secret keeper? That still does not explain. Oh my God, said Dumbledore, slumping back on his chair, his face aghast. Yes, you've hit the nail in the head, Professor, said Harry with a small smile. They were all animagi, exclaimed Dumbledore. That would explains it all. Oh, how blind I have been, Harry. Can't argue with that, Professor, said Harry, shaking his head. Do you know what kind of an animal Pettigrew would transform into? Something small, like a guinea pig or a hamster dash, said Dumbledore, stroking his beard. Or a rat? Asked Harry, raising an eyebrow. Quite possibly, said Dumbledore with a nod. Oh no, exclaimed Harry, showing a shocked expression. Professor, come with me. What's wrong, Harry? Asked Dumbledore, following Harry. I have a hunch I need to confirm, said Harry. Harry did not say anything more and rushed towards the Gryffindor common room with Dumbledore in tow. Once they arrived, all the students who were present looked at their headmaster in surprise. It wasn't every day Dumbledore paid a common room a visit. Harry looked around and saw Ron and Hermione at their favorite place next to the roaring fireplace. Ron, where's Scabbers? Asked Harry, slightly panting. In our dorm room. Why? Asked Ron. It's important, can you go get him, said Harry in a hushed voice. Okay, said Ron nervously as he went away. Moments later, he returned holding his pet rat. What's going on, Harry? Come with us and you'll find out, said Harry, taking Scabbers from Ron before leaving the common room. Dumbledore and Ron followed behind Harry. Harry was gripping Ron's rat tightly as it squeaked, trying to break free. The more it struggled, the tighter Harry held it until it stopped struggling. Not long after, they reached Dumbledore's office. Harry placed Scabbers on Dumbledore's desk as he muttered, Petrificus totalis. Harry then turned around and looked at Ron. Ron, how long has Scabbers been in your family? About 10 years now, said Ron, looking from Harry to Dumbledore in confusion. An awfully long lifespan for a common house rat, don't you think, Professor? Asked Harry, looking at Dumbledore. Yes, an extremely long lifespan considering a domesticated rat of this species only lives up to 3 years, said Dumbledore with a glint in his eyes. It's missing a toe as well, said Harry, pointing at Scabbers' paw. The only thing found was a finger, muttered Dumbledore. So, you want to change him or should? Asked Harry. Harry, what is going on? Asked Ron, not being able to keep quiet anymore. What are you going to do to Scabbers? Ron, Scabbers is not Scabbers, said Harry, looking at Ron. He's an animagus. How is that possible? Asked Ron. Scabbers has been in my family for 10 years. How can he be an animagus? This vermin was the one who betrayed my parents to Voldemort 10 years ago, said Harry, looking at the rat with cold eyes. Isn't that right, Peter Pettigrew? Harry snapped his fingers and the rat was finally able to move again. It began squealing loudly and jumped off Dumbledore's desk. However, before it could reach the ground, Harry raised his hand, mana particles danced around it and shot at the rat. The rat never reached the ground. It was dangling on mid-air. Professor, if you could do the honors, said Harry, activating his Sharingan. Dumbledore pointed his wand at Scabbers and a flash of blue-white light erupted from his wand. Momentarily, Scabbers was frozen in mid-air, his small black form twisting madly. Ron did not have the time to yell as the rat fell and hit the floor. There was another blinding flash of light and then, like watching a film of a growing tree on fast forward, a head shot up from the ground. Following which, limbs started sprouting. Next moment, a man was standing where Scabbers had been, cringing and wringing his hands. Bloody hell, Scabbers really is an animagus, gasped Ron, falling down in shock. I've been sharing my bed with this thing. Harry, said Pettigrew, looking at Harry as if shocked. Harry dash. Another word out of you, scum, and I'll burn you alive, said Harry, his voice icy cold and filled with hatred. Pettigrew whimpered as he flinched, cold sweat trickling down his spine. Hello, Peter, long time no see, said Dumbledore, his face flushed with anger. Professor Dash. Was I talking to a brick wall, Wormtail? Growled Harry, his Sharingan glowing brightly. Wormtail shivered violently as Harry's voice reached his ears. He looked around and his eyes locked with Harry's. He froze as he saw Harry's red eyes that had 3 commas rotating speedily around a circle. The comma shape started changing shape into that of 3 sides that were linked to each other. Abitos MS, tell me if I'm describing it wrong and I'll fix it given you have provided a better description than mine. In the middle of each eye was the shape of a sand hourglass. What are those eyes? Thought Wormtail. Host, you need to calm down, your Sharingan have just changed. Changed into what? Asked Harry in his mind. You have awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan. So that's why it was easier to cast it this time, thought Harry. Dumbledore noticed Wormtail's absent-minded state and placed a hand on his forehead. You must have really scared him with your eyes, Harry. His mind has gone in shutdown. Who are you trying to kid? Said Harry, narrowing his eyes. I've put him under an illusion. You're taking this calmer than I thought, said Dumbledore, sending 2 communicating Patronus out of his office. I'm just looking forward to what's going to happen later, said Harry, turning to face a gobsmacked Ron, still sitting on the go floor. Sigh. Ron, get up. Let me introduce you the scum that betrayed my parents, Peter Pettigrew. He was supposed to be their best friend. But how did he, muttered Ron, still shocked. He betrayed my parents to Voldemort, killed a whole bunch of muggles and blamed it on someone else, said Harry. He's been enjoying the last 10 years with your family. Albus, is it true? Asked McGonagall, bolting into Dumbledore's office. Oh my dear God, he really is alive. But does he look out of it? Harry put him under an illusion to keep him at bay, said Dumbledore. Minerva, can you send a message to Cornelius asking him to come to Hogwarts immediately with a few Aurors? If you could also be kind enough to send word to Remus Lupin. He would want to see this. Most certainly, Albus, said McGonagall. Just as McGonagall left, Snape came rushing in, almost knocking into Wormtail. Severus, said Dumbledore in a serious tone. My apologies, Headmaster, said Snape, regaining his composure. I lost myself for a moment there. Very subtle, said Harry, quietly. I still find it difficult that it was this coward that betrayed them, said Snape, looking at Wormtail as if he's about to pounce. All the more reason to have made him secret keeper, said Harry, crossing his arms. What are we waiting for? Asked Snape, looking between Harry and Dumbledore. Let's kill him. Severus, he will be sent to Azkaban after we clear Sirius' name, said Dumbledore in a warning tone. I don't see what good his release will achieve, muttered Snape. He's naturally better off in Azkaban with this rat. Wow, you guys have that much of an enmity? Asked Harry, raising an eyebrow. Humph, harumphed Snape as he turned his head away. What are your orders for me, Professor? Harry, with Pettigrew under an illusion, can he hear us? Asked Dumbledore, waving his hand in front of Wormtail. No, he's having too much of a good time in his illusion world, said Harry, an evil smirk appearing on his face. Just look at his expression. He's so scared right now he's about to piss himself. Good. Severus, with Pettigrew here found out, he'll be all over the press, said Dumbledore. I highly doubt the Dark Lord would care about this vermin, said Snape with a disgusted look on his face. It would be best if the topic of this scum being an animagus is kept a secret, said Harry. With us preparing for Voldemort and the vampires, we don't need to deal with the Ministry as well. In any case, we need them on our side until we've dealt with Voldemort first. You're right, said Dumbledore. I'll alter his memory, then, said Snape, looking at Dumbledore. Already done that, said Harry, smiling. I'll just leave you guys to it, shall I? Said a nervous voice. Harry, Dumbledore and Snape turned around to find Ron looking at them nervously. You guys are kinda scary when talking with each other, said Ron with a weak smile. It's all right, Ron, you can stay here, said Dumbledore. This man has been posing as your family's rat for a long time. Lucius Malfoy might use this as an excuse to defame Mr. Weasley if he finds out Pettigrew was living in Mr. Weasley's house all these years, said Harry. We can say he came to kill you after he found out you were at Hogwarts and got apprehended, said Snape. You think the Ministry will believe that? Asked Harry. They will if we say he came here for revenge since Voldemort did fail to kill you, said Dumbledore. That could pass, said Harry. You're strangely taking this easy, Potter, said Snape, looking at Harry. How do you mean? Asked Harry. This man betrayed your mother and father resulting in their deaths, said Snape, frowning. You're all right with simply shipping him to Azkaban? My priority right now is to get Sirius out of Azkaban, said Harry, looking Snape straight in his eye. Harry activated his Sharingan before sending a telepathic message to him. Don't ruin my plan and don't let Dumbledore find out. I'll let you know when the time is right. Snape a slight nod and remained silent. Seconds turned into minutes and soon half an hour passed. McGonagall soon returned with two men following closely behind her, Cornelius Fudge and Remus Lupin. Harry secretly undid the illusion he had placed Wormtail under and quickly switched it with the full bodybind curse. This, however, did not go unnoticed by Dumbledore. Harry noticed the twinkling in the old man's eyes and winked at him. Understanding Harry's intention, Dumbledore chose to not pay any heed to Harry's choice of action. "Cornelius, Remus, good of you to show up at such a short notice," said Dumbledore with a smile. "Oh my God, Dumbledore, is that who I think it is?" asked Cornelius, his voice shaking. "Peter," screamed Lupin at the top of his voice as he drew his wand. "Whoa, that reaction is nothing like from the book," said Harry, clicking his finger. He had disarmed Lupin. "Mr. Lupin, I understand your anger and your desire for revenge, but we have a different priority, no?" "Merlin's beard," exclaimed Fudge. "You just used wandless magic." "Surprise," said Harry, smirking. "Harry," said Lupin in a shocked voice. "Is that you, Harry?" "In the flesh and blood," said Harry. "How have you been?" "I've been all right, thanks," said Lupin. "You?" "As good as circumstances allowed," said Harry with a sigh. "But we have a rat infestation to take care of. Here's your wand back. Hold off your anger until we clear Sirius's name." "That's a good start," said Lupin. "Dumbledore, how did you come about Peter Pettigrew?" asked Fudge. "I did not, our young Harry did," replied Dumbledore, nodding towards Harry. "Harry Potter, I have to say it's a pleasure to finally meet you," said Fudge, shaking Harry's hand. "Can't say the same about you, though," said Harry, squeezing Fudge's hand. "That's a shame," winced Fudge. "And that's a strong grip you have there, Harry." "Mr. Fudge, I don't think we're close enough to be on a first-name basis," said Harry, with a smile that sent shivers down Fudge's spine. "I would appreciate it if you referred to me as Mr. Potter." "Right, Mr. Potter," said Fudge with an awkward smile. "Could you please explain to me how you came about Mr. Pettigrew?" "I have a knack for identifying an animagi in their animal form," said Harry, sending a wink towards McGonagall. "You can't mean Pettigrew is an animagi," exclaimed Fudge. "But that's not possible. He's not even registered." "How did someone like you become Prime Minister?" asked Harry in frustration. "I would like to know that as well," mumbled Snape. "Cornelius, Peter Pettigrew is an unregistered animagi," said Dumbledore. "Most likely Voldemort helped him out," said Harry. "Don't say his name," said Fudge, flinching. "Why not? He's already killed my parents and tried to kill me." "Is he going to do something worse if I say his name?" asked Harry, frowning as he looked at Fudge. Harry's growing well, thought Dumbledore, stroking his beard. "He's already managed to release such pressure, it proves his control over his magic." "No, of course not," said Fudge awkwardly. He felt really embarrassed at being scolded by a kid. To make matters worse, he felt like Dumbledore and the others might be laughing at him. "Anyway, where did you come about him?" "In the kitchen," said Harry. "I went there to get some food and found him in his rat form. I noticed something strange about him and brought him to Professor Dumbledore where he forced him to transform back to his human form. And now he's frozen there after I used the full bodybind curse on him." "That's quite an achievement, Harry," said Fudge. "But also very dangerous." "It's all right, I can handle myself," said Harry. "I may not be a match for any of my teachers right now, but I can easily take someone like you or Peter Pettigrew on." "That's quite boastful," said Fudge, displeased. "Not really," said Harry, shrugging his shoulders. "I hardly feel any pressure from either of you." "Which means your dueling skills are only a so-so." "How can you recognize animagi?" asked Fudge, trying to change the conversation. He seemed to be only embarrassing himself if he continued arguing with Harry. "Call it a gut feeling," said Harry with a smile as he tapped his stomach. "Harry, please stop teasing Cornelius," said Dumbledore, stifling a giggle. "He's still the Prime Minister." "I don't know what you're talking about, Professor," said Harry, looking at Dumbledore with an innocent look. "Mr. Potter is right, Prime Minister," said McGonagall, who was also hiding a smile. "He recognized me in my animagus form when I had him in my first class." "Getting to the main point, Mr. Fudge," said Harry. "This man here betrayed my parents to Voldemort. He then blamed it on Sirius Black. After that, he's been hiding as a rat here in Hogwarts itself." "That's bold statement to make, Mr. Potter," said Fudge. "Do you have any proof?" "Let's recall some details a little before we hear the confession from the culprit himself," said Harry. "As everyone knows, my parents chose Sirius Black as their secret keeper. However, Sirius Black convinced my parents to change their secret keeper to Peter Pettigrew in the last minute and keep Sirius Black as a decoy. This made great sense, as someone who was as pathetic as Pettigrew would never be chosen for a role as important as a secret keeper." "That is a good theory, Mr. Potter," said Fudge. "Then let me ask you, Prime Minister," said Harry. "Between Sirius Black and Peter Pettigrew, who would you choose to be your secret keeper?" "I see the point you're making," said Fudge. "Now, release your spell so I could interrogate Mr. Pettigrew myself." Harry clicked his fingers and Wormtail's figure slumped on the ground. He shuffled around before he tried to scramble towards Lupin. "Remus, my old friend," whimpered Wormtail. "How dare you call me a friend after what you've done?" roared Lupin. I had no choice," said Wormtail as he flinched at Lupin's outburst. "The Dark Lord had powers like no one else. He would have killed me if I hadn't served him." "Wow, here I thought you might actually attempt to deny it," said Harry. "You're more of a coward than I thought." "Peter, did it never cross your traitorous mind that you might have to answer me one day?" asked Lupin angrily. "Remus, please dash," said Wormtail, starting to plead. "Shut it, Peter," shouted Lupin. "If it wasn't for the fact that we need to clear Sirius' name, I would have killed you here and now. You'll be coming with me to the Ministry for a trial. Then you'll be heading for Azkaban," said Fudge, drawing his wand. "You're actually going to give him a trial?" asked Harry, dumbfounded. "We need to get more information out of him, Harry," said Fudge. "Prime Minister, if he escapes from you while you further interrogate him, I swear on my dead parents I'll be coming after you," swore Harry. "Count me in on that," said Lupin. "And me," said Snape. "Don't forget me, Prime Minister," said McGonagall. "I absolutely despise traitors." "You'll have me chasing you down as well, Cornelius," said Dumbledore. "Not only were James and Lily Potter my students, they were also my friends." Fudge started swearing buckets. "Worry not, everyone," said Fudge in an attempt to reassure everyone. "I'll personally make sure he lands in Azkaban." "I'll be accompanying you to the Ministry of Magic," said Dumbledore, casting the full body bind curse on Wormtail. "Let's go." "I'll attend the hearing as well," said Lupin, standing next to Dumbledore. "Hey scum," said Harry coldly, grabbing Wormtail's jaw. "I better not find you outside of Azkaban." Harry stared at Wormtail's eyes as he activated his Sharingan. He mounted a word before letting Wormtail go again. "Don't worry, Harry, he'll never be able to escape from Azkaban," said Fudge. "None has ever managed to escape from there. The Dementors make sure of that." "Again with the over-familiarity," said Harry as he looked over to Fudge, having already deactivated his Sharingan. "But I'll hold you to your word." "We will be off now," said Dumbledore. "Await for good news." Dumbledore and the others left for the Ministry of Magic while McGonagall went to her office. Harry sent Ron back to the Gryffindor common room telling him to send word to Mr. Weasley informing him of what happened and keep his own mouth shut after that. He wasn't even allowed to tell Hermione, yet. He had to make sure the note was not read by anyone else and burnt. Harry lingered behind with Snape. "So Potter, what's this grand plan of yours?" asked Snape once they were out of earshot. "Professor, I need you to set up some charms in the Shrieking Shack so no noise reaches it," said Harry. "We're going to have a guest coming soon. I also need you to cast a sensory spell so that we know once our guest arrives." You You used legilimency on him? Asked Snape, surprised. Not quite, I'll explain once everyone involved is present, said Harry. I'll see you around, Professor. Harry and Snape then parted ways and Harry headed towards the room of requirement. System, why am I so exhausted? Asked Harry in his mind. Because you awakened your Manjikyu Sharingan and already used it twice. That drained most of your mana and mental energy. I can't even properly keep my eyes open, said Harry. As soon as Harry slumped on the bed in the room of requirement, he drifted off to sleep. Hours later, Harry woke up, completely refreshed albeit very hungry. After grabbing food from the kitchen, he went to the Gryffindor common room to find Ron and Hermione. Harry, where have you been? Asked Ron in a panicked voice. We've been looking for you everywhere. I was sleeping in the room, replied Harry. I needed somewhere to sleep where I wouldn't be disturbed. I was really drained after what happened in Dumbledore's office. You slept for a whole day? Exclaimed Ron. You must have been more affected than I thought. Harry, what happened yesterday? Asked Hermione, worried. Ron hasn't been saying anything no matter how many times I asked him. I'll tell you everything later, said Harry, munching on his food. Harry, Snape's been looking for you, said Ron. I'll go find after I eat, said Harry. Did he say where he'll be? He said you'll know where to find him, said Ron. Any news from the Ministry of Magic? Asked Harry. Nothing yet, but I'll expect something will be reported in the Daily Prophet in tomorrow's issue, said Ron. Shrieking Shack. Snape, why have you brought us here? Asked Lupin. I'm as in the dark as you are, Lupin, replied Snape. This was Potter's request. I didn't know you had become friends with the son of your nemesis, Snape, said Sirius. I'm not doing this for that Four Eyes, Black, snapped Snape. Potter may look like his father, but his personality takes after his mother. Not to mention his talents. Lupin and Snape had long returned back with Sirius and Dumbledore to Hogwarts. As soon as they had caught up in their reunion, Snape had dragged Lupin and Sirius to the Shrieking Shack to wait for Harry. Where is Harry? Asked Sirius excitedly. If I knew we would not be pointlessly waiting for him, replied Snape curtly. I have informed Potter's redhead friend to send Potter here as soon as he found him. Just then, the door of the room the three men were at opened. Snape, Lupin and Sirius looked and saw no one. Hi guys, said Harry, smiling as he took his invisibility cloak off. Harry, exclaimed Sirius, jumping to hug him. It's good to see you too, Sirius, said Harry, returning Sirius' hug. I have missed you too, but go easy on the hugging. I'm not going anywhere. Harry, oh how much like your father you look, said Sirius, looking at Harry from head to toe. And how you have grown. Remus, look at his muscles and good looks. He's definitely a lady killer. We don't need another playboy when you're around Sirius, said Lupin as Snape rolled his eyes. Harry, why did you ask us to be here? We're expecting an old friend, Mr. Lupin, replied Harry. Please, Harry, call me Remus, said Harry. And who's this old friend that we need the Shrieking Shack as a meeting place? Oh, someone that goes by the name of Peter Pettigrew, said Harry with a smirk. Ring any bell? How is that possible? Asked Lupin, shocked. I clearly saw him get taken to Azkaban. And he didn't try to put up a fight? Asked Harry, giving them a knowing smile. He did, but then Snape brought him back, said Lupin. And didn't you find it surprising at how docile he was after that? Asked Harry. Well, he was always more of a coward than anything else, said Lupin, rubbing his chin. Wait, how did you know? Do I take it that whatever goes on in this room is going to be kept between the four of us? Asked Harry, looking at the three men in front of him. Potter, I doubt any of us would be here if we couldn't keep secrets, said Snape. Oh how true those words are, Professor, said Harry. Shadow clone. With a puff of smoke, there was a second Harry standing next to him that greatly shocked everyone. Even the normally calm Snape had a look of extreme shock on his face as he stared from one Harry to another. "Harry, what is this?" asked Sirius in a trembling voice. "This is the spell I have been working on," replied Harry. "It creates an identical clone of the caster and is create to use for intel gathering, since once the spell wears off and whatever the clone had experienced, those memories will rush back to the original. After you guys left yesterday, I sent off one clone after you guys and had it transform into Pettigrew. I'm assuming that filthy rat's attempted escape was your doing, too?" asked Sirius. "Of course," said Harry happily. "You could never be too creative with a bit legilimency." "You know legilimency, too?" asked Lupin. "Oh, how shocked you would be if you knew at the things I know," said Harry, smirking. "I don't think my poor heart would be able to hear that much shock," said Lupin, patting his chest. "You're wrong about one thing, Snape," said Sirius suddenly. "What's that?" asked Snape curtly. "Harry's personality," replied Sirius. "It's a combination of James and Lily's personality with a hint of cunning. I'm surprised you weren't placed in Slytherin, Harry." "Oh, the Sorting Hat considered to put me in Slytherin," said Harry, shrugging his shoulders. "But it put me in Gryffindor, saying something about having more allies there." "It was right about that part," said Lupin. "I don't see what's wrong with Slytherin," said Harry. "One of my best friends is housed in Slytherin. And she's a rare beauty with brains and heart to match." "You're talking about Greengrass?" asked Snape. "She is a unique girl. Look at Harry, Lupin. What did I tell you? He's barely started Hogwarts and he's already locking down on the ladies," said Sirius excitedly. "Enough of that, Black," snapped Snape, no pun intended. "Potter, where's Pettigrew?" "He should have already been here," said Harry, looking around. "Wormtail, come out." Just then a rat squeaked as it ran into the middle of the room and transformed into Peter Pettigrew. Seeing that, Harry undid the illusion he had placed Wormtail under as his eyes regains their focus. "Guys, do as you see fit, but don't kill him and don't make him go fully retarded," said Harry quickly. "We want the torture session to go for a long time." A shiver ran down everyone's spine as they looked at Harry. "What? You guys don't want to go?" said Harry, smashing Wormtail's head into the floor. "Seriously, I would have thought you and Snape would be the first ones to have a go, Sirius. Why are you just standing there and doing nothing?" Harry had activated his mana armor and twisted Wormtail's hands into an unnatural angle with his bones sticking out. Wormtail had been screaming non-stop in pain and pleading Harry to stop with tears in his eyes. "Silencio," said Harry, and Wormtail immediately went silent. "Seriously, the torture session hasn't even started yet and you're already begging us to stop. Alright, who wants a go?" Harry looked around to see Lupin, Snape and Sirius with pale faces staring at him and at Wormtail. "What?" asked Harry with a confused look. "Potter, I think you already broke him," said Snape, looking at Wormtail who had already fainted. I was going to ask you to heal him with your potions, Professor, but that would be a bit of a waste," said Harry. "I agree," said Snape. "In all my life, I have seen many tortures, but this is the first time I have seen one this gory." "Well, I've vented out my anger," said Harry. "Decide amongst yourselves whether you want to continue torturing him or you want to kill him. We don't have to worry anymore since Sirius' name has been cleared now." "Avada Kedavra," shouted Snape as a jet of green light shot out of his wand and engulfed Wormtail. Wormtail lay on the ground, his limbs broken and twisted into odd angles, dead. Everyone was silent as they stared at the dead body, each deep in their own thoughts. Slowly, seconds trickled into minutes and nobody spoke. "I'm going to get rid of the body," said Snape, finally breaking the silence. "I think all of us need some time to reflect," said Lupin. "I'm going back to the castle," said Harry. "My friends are waiting for me. Sirius, Remus, send me an owl if you want to meet up. We could always meet in Hogsmeade." "I'll definitely need to sort things out now that I'm a free man again," said Sirius. We will definitely need to catch up on lost time, Harry, Remus. I look forward to it, said Harry with a smile. I'll see you guys around. Harry made his way back to the Gryffindor common room to find Ron and Hermione waiting for him. They also found Daphne, and all four of them headed to the room of requirement. Harry had shown the room to Daphne a couple of weeks ago. She was surprised to find out about the room and happy that Harry had trusted her enough to share the room with her. Their friendship had grown considerably since they first met. Harry then told them about his parents and the Marauders, at how they had been very close friends. He then went on at how Wormtail had betrayed his parents to Voldemort and had gone into hiding as a rat in Ron's family. When they asked how he could recognize an animagus, Harry told them that he could recognize them from how the mana particles behaved around the animagi and how he could sense something like their aura feels like a human's. Of course, he kept silent about fooling the Ministry of Magic about impersonating Wormtail and having him killed in the Shrieking Shack. They did not need to know. Harry also lied about the aura sensing, since he could not do that at the present time. But the lie convinced them, as they had already seen his other abilities. Harry also told them about Sirius Black being his godfather. They were surprised at first. They were also angry at the Ministry for sending the wrong person to prison. The day ended and each of the four friends returned back to their respective dorm rooms. Harry lay in his bed in deep thought as Ron, Neville, Dean Thomas and Seamus Finnegan were playing with Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. "Guys, listen up," said Harry suddenly as he sat up. "Do you guys want to get stronger?" Everyone looked at Harry curiously. "What do you mean, Harry?" asked Seamus. "You guys have seen the improvements that Ron has made," said Harry, to which everyone nodded. "How about we all train together? Once there are more of us doing better at classes, we will be awarded with more points. That way, winning the House Cup will be set in stone. That is not to mention we will be getting high marks on our end-of-year exams." "That is a good idea, Harry," said Dean. "Gryffindor hasn't won the House Cup the last couple of years." "So how about it?" asked Harry. "I'm in," said Neville nervously. "Ron, I've been meaning to ask, how did you get so good at spellcasting?" "It's thanks to Harry, really," said Ron. "He's been teaching me every day since September." "Harry, what's your secret?" asked Seamus. "I'll tell you guys if you agree to keep it a secret," said Harry. "If you can master the training me and Ron are going through, you can easily win any duels even with those in years above us." This got them hooked. He explained to them his theory of mana particles and they were all keenly listening to him. Neville, Seamus and Dean started with their meditation. At first they were all frustrated that they could not sense anything. However, after Ron's encouragement, they resumed their mana sensing. When it got to 9 o'clock, Harry told them to sleep as they would be getting up early in the morning. Harry lay back in his own bed and had the mission window open in front of him. Mission alert, gather information. Reward, Shadow Clone. Status, completed, reward claimed. Mission alert, innocent man. Description, reveal Peter Pettigrew's betrayal to prove Sirius Black's innocence. Reward, body transformation. Status, completed, reward claimed. Mission alerts, army building. Description, you need an army to fight against an army. Train your roommates Neville Longbottom, Seamus Finnegan and to master Stage 5, Mana Shield. Progress, 0%. Reward, unlocking Manjikyu Sharingan abilities. Mission alert, army building. Description, you need an army to fight against an army. Train your Quidditch team to reach Stage 5, Mana Shield. Progress, 32%. Reward, unknown. System, why add a progress bar now with the missions? Asked Harry in his mind. It's to help you keep track of their improvement instead of having to ask them. As for the Quidditch team progression being 32% is due to Fred and George Weasley being on the brink of a breakthrough and Rest already mastering mana sense and mana control. I see, muttered Harry with a smile on his face before falling asleep. On Monday morning, Harry had received a note from Dumbledore asking for a meeting. He had been correct in his assumption that it had something to do with Pettigrew. After receiving Dumbledore's note, Harry had also received a copy of the Daily Prophet in which Sirius' name had been cleared as innocent. The newspaper report had gone on to talk about Peter Pettigrew being a spy for Voldemort and how he had betrayed everyone. Harry was glad that the Ministry of Magic had still not found out his clone was impersonating Pettigrew. He figured the spell would last until that night, and it would be funny to see old Fudge's expression when he finds out his prisoner suddenly disappearing into a puff of smoke. During his classes that day, Harry started getting the second-year materials from his teachers. He was happy to know that his exam had been given to him. As per his expectation, he had aced all of his results from his exam. He had expectantly aces all of them. Once his classes were over, he made his to Dumbledore's office. Upon entering that old headmaster's office, he also found out Fudge was already sitting there with Dumbledore. "Ah, Harry, I trust you've had a good day," asked Dumbledore. "Yes, I have, thank you, Professor," replied Harry. "Mr. Potter, I trust you've already read this morning's issue of the Daily Prophet?" asked Fudge. "I have, though I don't understand why you didn't release the information yesterday," said Harry as he sat next to Fudge. "Ah, that was because I was being interviewed all day yesterday and the Daily Prophet couldn't make it in time for the evening release," said Fudge with an awkward smile. "But that's not why I'm here today. I have examined the protective gear you have made. I still find it quite difficult that a first year could produce such high-level charmed items. As I said, Cornelius, Harry is very talented in charms," said Dumbledore confidently. "I can personally vouch that it was young Harry that made them. If even you are vouching for Mr. Potter, then I have no choice but to believe it," said Fudge, chuckling. "How many of them can you produce on a weekly basis?" "Let's talk about the pricing first," said Harry with a sly smile. "Depending on how much you value them, the production speed will vary. Do you want quality or quantity? If you want quality, I promise you they'll be on the same level as those prototypes I provided you. If I want quantity," asked Fudge. "Then I'll have to ask you to find someone else," replied Harry, shrugging his shoulders. "Let's talk business then," said Fudge, finally taking Harry seriously. Harry and Fudge spent the next few hours finalizing their deal. Dumbledore acted as the medium to ensure that no party took advantage of the other and that the agreed pricing of each item was equivalent to the quality of the product. After 4 long hours, they finally finished, each party fully satisfied with their results. "Mr. Potter, now that the contract has been signed, when should I expect the first batch of the products?" asked Fudge excitedly. "At the end of the month," replied Harry. "You've made quite a large first order, Minister. Rest assured, what I'm providing you is quality." "I can't wait," said Fudge, his smile heavily plastered in his face. "I'll take my leave then, Professor, Minister," said Harry, greeting up from his seat. "It's quite late and I still have classes in the morning." "Good night, Harry," said Dumbledore. "Good night, Mr. Potter," said Fudge happily, waving at Harry as he left. "That's a remarkable young boy, there, Albus," said Fudge, returning his attention to Dumbledore. "Naturally, Cornelius," replied Dumbledore, smiling. "He's got a future that is brighter than all of us." "Albus, you've never praised anyone like this before," said Fudge, surprised. "That's how much his talent means," said Dumbledore seriously. "He's got the kind of talent where he'll thrive wherever he goes. What I wish for him when he grows is to either become the next Minister for Magic or Hogwarts headmaster." Harry used his time turner and went to the room of requirement. He used his shadow clone technique to produce 4 clones. Tasking them with studying the second-year materials, physical training, and sparring amongst each other, he finally entered his dungeon world. "Cast on," muttered Harry. Harry's surroundings was instantly changed as he entered the empty floor of his dungeon. A moment later, White Cloud appeared in front of him. "Good morning, Master," said White Cloud with a slight bow. "Good morning to you too, White Cloud," replied Harry. "What's with the Master title?" You are the master of the system I'm part of, said Whitecloud. What else should I call you if not master? Alright, I'm ready to challenge this floor's boss now, said Harry, looking around. Where do I find him? Your strength now is considerably above this floor's boss, master, replied Whitecloud. You can head straight onto the zombie floor. How do I do that? Asked Harry. Just picture yourself going to the first floor and you will teleport it immediately, replied Whitecloud. You can leave the floor anytime you wish. Once you have cleared all the zombies in the first floor, the Zombie King will appear. Once you have defeated him, you will have cleared the floor and the next floor will be unlocked. How many floors are there now? Asked Harry curiously. There are 100 floors available, replied Whitecloud. However, the second floor and above are locked and will only be unlocked once you defeat the previous floor's ruler. Very well, let's get this started then, said Harry, smiling as he pictured himself going to the first floor. Harry felt his mana gathering around him and he was immediately teleported to the first floor. He found himself in an abandoned metropolitan city. There were buildings that were in ruins with smashed windows. The streets had cracks in the shape of spider webs. The entire city looked like a ghost town. Where are the zombies? Muttered Harry to himself as he started walking the empty street. I was expecting to be attacked as soon as I appeared in this place. Harry continued walking down the street until he reached a small lake. He checked the railings and found it to be quite sturdy. He leaned at the railings carefully as he stared into the lake, enjoying the scene. This is quite beautiful, even if the whole city is abandoned, thought Harry as he let out a small smile. Grr, came a voice from behind Harry. Harry span around and found 4 zombies approaching him. They were all moving slowly with arms raised. Wow, what a typical zombie behavior, said Harry, withdrawing his wand. System, why are they so slow? There are 4 types of zombies in this floor, the strength type, speed type, defensive type and elemental type. Aside from the speed type and lightning type zombies, the others share about the same speed. The zombies in front of you are of the strength type. I advise caution as their attack power is quite high. I see, said Harry with a smile. This dungeon system of yours reminds me of the manga, The Gamer. The concept was adapted from the manga. After all, what was considered fiction in your old world is quite real elsewhere. Harry flicked his wand as a jet of scarlet light streamed out of it, hitting the zombie on the far left. The force flung the zombie onto its back as it flew about a meter before landing on the ground. It doesn't knock them out completely, thought Harry as he watched the zombie getting back up to its feet. Harry flicked his wand again as 4 blue lights flew in 4 directions, hitting the 4 zombies. All 4 of the undead creatures were turned into piles of ash as Harry moved towards what was left of them. So the reductor curse it is then, mumbled Harry. Host, please collect the zombie drop. The what now? Asked Harry, slightly stunned. The monsters within this dungeon has the possibilities of dropping items upon their defeat. How reminiscent of a game, mused Harry. Harry waved his wand over the piles of ash as they parted ways for 2 small translucent crystal shards. What are these? Asked Harry as he looked at the 2 crystal shards curiously. It is a low-grade life crystal. They have the function of mana particles and purifying them, allowing them to be more easily absorbed. The difference between a purified mana particle and a normal mana particle is like the difference between raw steak and a cooked steak. That's very handy, said Harry, placing the 2 life crystals in his inventory. Since you said they are low grade, there must also be a higher grade life crystals too. There are. However, they are only dropped by high-level monsters found in the higher floors. So how much mana particle can this low-level life crystal hold? Asked Harry as he started walking to another street to find more zombies. If the amount had to be quantified, it would be around 500 units of mana particle. That doesn't seem a lot, said Harry in a slightly disappointed tone. Host, you are forgetting these are low-level life stones. The highest grade of life crystal is able to contain 100,000 units of mana particle. Before you ask, such life crystals can only be found in floor 100 and above. Wait. Didn't Whitecloud say there are only 100 floors? Asked Harry in confusion. There are floors beyond the 100th floor and can only be unlocked after you have fulfilled their hidden requirements. Well, it ain't not like I currently have any use for them, said Harry, as he found a second group of zombies. Are they always going to be in fours? Yes. These 4 zombies are the speed type. Their speed stats has already reached 150 points. They can also learn to coordinate with each other, so don't give them the time to do so. Right, muttered Harry. Following his previous experience, Harry quickly sent out a barrage of spells at the speed zombies. As their names would have it, they were very speedy. Despite being under Harry's constant assault, they managed to evade majority of Harry's spells. It was not that Harry's spell-casting speed was slow or that his accuracy was poor. The speed zombies were just highly agile. Despite their high speed, Harry still managed to make quick work out of them. Harry was still faster than them. Harry continued with his search for zombies, and the next group he came across were defensive zombies. They had a higher resistance to spells, however, after increasing the mana output behind his spells, Harry also cleaned them out. Harry was curious to encounter the elemental zombies, and as luck would have it, he quickly came across them. However, they were not what he was expecting at all. System, care to explain these things? Asked Harry, dark lines appearing on his forehead. They are the elemental zombies. They look a little too much like regular zombies. If they manage to attack you, that's when their elements play out. If you get hit by a fire zombie, you get burnt, electrocuted by a lightning zombie, blown away by an air zombie, and get whizzed away by a water zombie. What were you expecting? The zombies looking like their elements, what else? Sorry to disappoint, then. Sigh, no matter, let's get this over with then. Harry continued with blasting the zombies away, and soon he lost count of how many he had killed. However, he had kept an eye on the life crystals, and he found out there was a 25% chance of them being dropped. Host, prepare yourself. You managed to kill all 100 zombies, and the Zombie King is about to appear. The sky suddenly turned dark and clouds appeared and condensed together. The condensed cloud grumbled as it changed into that of a thunder cloud. It flashed like lightning as a stream of thunder descended, hitting the ground. Upon witnessing the sight, Harry quickly made his way towards where the lightning had descended. Upon reaching the location, the figure of a young boy appeared before Harry. The young boy's appearance, on the other hand, was just like a zombie. It opened its eyes and stared straight at Harry. The Zombie King. It has all the abilities of a speed zombie, strength zombie, defense zombies, and lightning zombie. That makes it one overpowered zombie, said Harry, looking at the young zombie. It is. Be careful, even if your level is still higher, it doesn't guarantee you a win. Obviously, said Harry. One more thing, it is able to use its lightning to increase its speed even further. Just when Harry was about to prepare an attack, Harry suddenly received a new notification from the system. Mission alert, defeat Zombies King. Description, Zombie King has appeared after you have slain his underlings. Zombie King is made up of all 100 zombies of the zombie floor. Reward, observe skill. You like giving out missions, don't you? Asked Harry. My job is to make you stronger. What better was to receive skills than through mission rewards? True that, said Harry, smirking. Just then, the Zombie King launched an attack. It aimed a first covered in lightning at Harry. Harry lightly sidestepped, dodging the powerful punch. It's almost as fast as I am, thought Harry as he activated his mana shield. But I'll take serious damage if I get hit by that punch. The Zombie King continued sending a flurry of punches at Harry, which he kept dodging. This Zombie King can also use feints, exclaimed Harry as he dodged an elbow strike. Naturally. You didn't expect them to be some dumb AI, did you? I actually did, admitted Harry. This is going to get exciting. Harry activated his Sharingan and paid close attention to the Zombie King's movements. Holding his wand tightly, he quickly flicked it as it released a stream of blue light hit the Zombie King's arm before it could retract it. The hand quickly disintegrated into dust as it was hit by the Reductor Curse. As if not even feeling the slightest pain, the Zombie King sent another punch at Harry with its other, intact hand. Not expecting the sudden assault, Harry instinctively launched another Reductor Curse of the Zombie King with his free hand. However, the Zombie King's arm did not fully disintegrate this time. Not having enough room for maneuverability with his wand, Harry focused his mana on his feet and quickly jumped back. That was strange, thought Harry, watching the injured Zombie King's glare. Time to end this. Harry focused his mana into his wand and increased the amount he provided it. With a deep breath, he pointed his wand at the incoming Zombie King and shouted, "Reducto." As Harry's curse fired at the Zombie King, it exploded into a pile of ash. Seconds turned into minutes as Harry stood there, frozen on the spot. "What on earth?" breathed Harry finally. That was so shocking. Dexterity have increased by 1. Agility have increased by 1. Mission alert, defeat Zombie King. Status, complete. Mission reward, observe skill, claim, yes/no. Yes, claim, said Harry. Observe skill claimed, learnt. As soon as the message disappeared, a flow of information entered Harry's mind, giving him a cool refreshing feeling. Not bothering with the skill at the present moment, Harry turned his attention to the pile of ash that was the Zombie King. He waves his wand and the ash parted to reveal a red-colored crystal pendant in the shape of a twisted teardrop with a silver chain. "How beautiful," said Harry, admiring the beauty of the pendant. "You are very lucky to get such a drop. As long as you wear that pendant, it will purify your magic. It will also amplify your regenerative abilities and increase your training speed." "This is an incredibly overpowered pendant," exclaimed Harry. "Naturally, considering it is an S-rank artifact. If I'm to get this kind of drops, I should have used this dungeon world sooner," said Harry in awe. "You should not expect this kind of drop every time. Luck will not always be on your side." "I understand," said Harry. "Even if I were to simply get the regular life crystals, it will still be worth coming here. That included with the fighting experience will more than enough. Anything else is simply a bonus. Would you like to advance to the next floor?" "No, that's enough for Toadette," replied Harry. "I need some sleep. I may be fine physically but I'm mentally exhausted." Cast off. Harry returned to the room of requirement once more. He found his clones still hard at work. As soon as he released them, his mind was instantly bombarded with new information as his clones' experience rushed into his mind. Harry was left lightheaded with an intense headache as his knees gave way as if they had turned into jelly. "Note to self, never release more than one clone at a time," said Harry through grit's teeth. Upon desiring for a bed to lie on, the bed Harry had used previously appeared next to him. Grabbing the food he has brought from the kitchen earlier, Harry quickly ate until he was full before falling into a deep sleep. The next morning, Harry rose at the usual time of 5 o'clock a.m. Upon following his usual routine of morning workout, Harry made it for breakfast. "Hi guys," chimed in Harry happily as he sat next to Ron, Hermione, and Daphne. "Someone's in a good," said Hermione smiling. "When good things happen to you one after another, you would be full of smiles too," said Harry, biting his toast. "I know that Sirius Black's release was one good news, but care to share the following ones?" asked Daphne, staring curiously at Harry. "Oh, I just secured a major deal with the Minister for Magic yesterday," said Harry casually. "Nothing major." "What kind of a deal?" asked Ron with a mouth full of food. "Ron, talk with a full mouth again and I'll personally be hexing your mouth tightly shut," said Daphne with the sweetest smile that caused Ron to instantly close his mouth. "Wow, this girl is crazy about table manners," thought Harry as he gracefully ate his breakfast. I love it. She could actually pass for royalty. So, Harry, said Ron once his mouth was empty. What kind of a deal did you strike with the Minister for Magic? Oh, simply the kind that allows me to offer the three of you jobs if you're willing to accept, said Harry. What will the job be, Harry? Asked Daphne. Enchantment magic, replied Harry. Remember when I was enchanting those clothes 2 weeks ago? I sent them to the Ministry of Magic through Dumbledore and the minister loved them. He now wants a steady of them. So how about it? Will you work for me? Will we get paid? Asked Ron seriously. Naturally, said Harry. However, I'll be paying you based on quality. It has to reach my standards before I am okay with them. Count me in, said Ron happily before returning his full attention to his food. Me too, said Hermione. This will be good for increasing my skills in charms. I as well, Harry, said Daphne. This should definitely help raise my mana control. But, Harry, as much as we want to do this, aren't we too swamped with preparing for the exams? Asked Hermione with a worried look on her face. Don't worry, I've got a spell that will allow to seriously multitask on a whole new level, said Harry. The only drawback is that it uses too much mana. I'll teach it to you once you've reached stage 5. By the way, have any of you seen Fred and George? They practiced with us at school grounds but haven't. Oh my bad, they're with Lee Jordan at the end of the table, said Ron as he pointed to where the teacher's table was placed. I suppose a Weasley's red head really is hard to miss, muttered Harry subconsciously. I have some things to do with Fred and George if ladies could excuse me. Without waiting for a response, Harry made his way towards the teacher's table where Fred and George were in deep conversation with Lee Jordan. I hope I'm not interrupting, said Harry with a smile. Ah, Harry, maybe you can help, said Lee. Who do you think will be the runner-up for the Quidditch match at the end of the year? My bet is on Ravenclaw coming second, replied Harry. Wow, no hesitation at all, said Fred and George in unison. Of course not, said Harry. After Gryffindor, they're easily the best team. But Quidditch aside, Fred, George, the Minister for Magic accepted the deal and has given his first order. When can you guys help me with the production? Whenever you need us, mate, said Fred. What's this deal with THR Minister you're talking about, Harry? Asked Lee. Just a small business deal, said Harry with a mysterious smile. Think nothing of it, Lee, said George. Lee, how would you like to train with us? Asked Harry. What do you mean train? Asked Lee. I'm sure you must have noticed the improvements in Fred and George, said Harry with a smirk. That's the result of the training we've been doing together. So that's the reason behind their sudden improvement, said Lee in realization. Hey, Harry, what kind of a monster are you? You're excellent in Quidditch, I've heard you're very good in your classes and you even have that Slytherin running after you. Lee, that Slytherin is my friend and her name is Daphne, said Harry angrily. Be more respectful towards my friends. And forget about the offer to train together. Fred, George, I'll see you both later. With an angry look, Harry turned around and walked off. However, before he could go far, he was stopped by Fred and George. Harry, mate, stop, said George. Lee didn't mean it like that. He's just surprised that a Gryffindor and a Slytherin are friends since it's not common. Yeah, Harry, you don't have to get too angry, I'm sorry, said Lee walking up to Harry. I'm not convinced yet, said Harry, still looking angry. Harry, common on bro, don't hold a grudge over a small mistake, said George. Lee's a really good guy. Gryffindor and Slytherin haven't really seen eye to eye for as long as we can remember, so it's been difficult for our two houses to become friends. In fact, you guys are the only ones I know amongst our two houses to have become friends. Well, since you're vouching for Lee this much, I suppose I can let bygones be bygones, said Harry. Are you okay with bringing him with us to the training sessions? Asked Fred. Sure, said Harry, walking back towards his seat. I'll see you guys in the morning. Freeze, George, I know he's the famous Harry Potter, but aren't the two of you placing too much importance on him, said Lee, staring at Harry's receding back. Lee, my friend, said George, placing a hand over Lee's shoulder. You're only saying that because you haven't realized Harry's real strength yet. But you'll realize it when we progress with our training. With the help of his shadow clones, Harry's training progressed smoothly. He continued challenging the zombie floor for the rest of the week, and both his dexterity and agility reached 300 points, whereas his strength reached 295 points. He was sure that given another week, he would be able to level up to level 31. As his training continued, Harry's sensing abilities increased as well. He was now more sensitive to his surroundings and able to communicate better with the mana particles in the air. Upon this discovery, he spent more time in meditation. While meditating with Ron, Hermione, and Daphne the following Saturday morning in the room of requirement, Harry's body jolted as he inhaled sharply. He felt an abrupt change in his mana network as his mana pool started to furiously absorb the mana particles in the air. However, it was not like it had happened at Halloween, where he was not in control and felt agitated. On the contrary, he felt calm, collected, and at peace. Harry allowed the mana particles to nourish his body as he observed the changes that was taking place. He noticed his mana vein that was covering his entire body slowly condensing and shrinking as it glowed brighter and brighter. His shrinking mana vein was slowly became round as it settled in his lower belly, just below his navel. This must be what's known as Dantian, thought Harry. It's so bright but so colorless. As Harry continued observing his newly formed Dantian, Harry noticed a slight fluctuation. A small energy formed in the size of a kidney bean that was creamy white in color. It slowly rotated in the middle of his Dantian as it radiated a calming energy, revitalizing him. Harry switched his attention to where the energy that was given off by the kidney bean-sized little ball that had just formed in his Dantian. He observed as the creamy white energy traveled through his body, healing him, strengthening him. He noticed how his body contained specks of dirt he could only assume to be impurities. However, as soon as they were touched by the creamy white energy, they were simply washed away and disappeared as if they did not exist. Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 31. Congratulations, you have awakened spirit of purification. Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 32. Congratulations, you have formed your Dantian. Congratulations, you have repelled impurities from your body. Congratulations, mana vein, mana network, mana pool strengthened. Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 33. Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 34. Congratulations, you have awakened Eye of Magic. Eye of Magic is compatible with the skill Observe. Eye of Magic and Observe skill have merged. Congratulations, you have awakened Eye of Insight. Name, Harry Potter. Age, 11. Level, 34. HP, 3400 MP, 3400 Vit, 340. STR, 340 Dex, 340 Agi, 340. Int, 340 Wis, 340. Attribute points, 191. Abilities. Sharingan, Magikyo Sharingan, rank, S. Allows user to perceive motions as well as be able to copy the motions perceived motions. Mangekyo Sharingan abilities currently locked. Aura Sense, Advanced, A+. Allows user to sense and see the auras of those around the user. Also able to see aura affinity. Mana Sense, Advanced, A+. Allows user to sense mana in the air. Eye of Insight, Beginner, C. Allows user to see target's aura and its color of affinity as well as target strengths and weaknesses. When Eye of Insight have advanced enough, user is able to see more details. Regeneration, Intermediate, B+. Allows user to recover from fatigue and light injuries at 4x normal speed. Mana Regeneration, Intermediate, B+. Allows user to recover 750 mana points per minute. Mana absorption, intermediate, B+. Multiplies the speed of mana regeneration by 4. Mana circulation, intermediate, B+. Multiplies the effect of regeneration by 4. Physical endurance, intermediate, B+. Increases the body's durability, allowing for less damage to be taken. Mana armor, intermediate, B+. Allows user to create a coat of armor using mana to increase both attack and defense. Mana affinity, advanced, A+. Allows user to become more sensitive to mana and handle it better. Mana control, advanced, A+. Allows user to have better mana control than the average wizard. Dungeon creation, basic, D+. Allows user to create an alternate dimension that only user can enter with a set number of floors in accordance to user's strength. Number of floors corresponds with user's strength. Current floor number, 17 floor. Wing Chun Kung Fu, advanced, A+. A traditional southern Chinese Kung Fu styles in close-range combat. Increases user's attack and speed powers. Mana strikes can be used when actively combined with mana infusion. Skills. Charms, mastery, beginner, very happy face. Transfigurarian, mastery, beginner, very happy face. Potions, mastery, beginner, very happy face. Dark arts, mastery, beginner, very happy face. Herbology, mastery, beginner, C+. Dueling, mastery, beginner, B. Harry slowly opened his eyes. He found he had a considerably sharper eyesight and could see a lot more details. He turned his head to find Ron, Hermione, and Daphne looking at him with faces filled with curiosity and amazement. It took Harry a little bit of time to start getting used to his new vision. The amount of information and the speed that his mind was registering was tremendously greater than before his breakthrough. As he slowly started adjusting to his sharpened eyesight, Harry, for the first time, noticed the auras of his friends. Ron's aura was a deep shade of red. Hermione's aura was the color of rocky brown and scarlet red. Finally, Daphne's aura was the color of emerald green and deep sky blue. "What's wrong, guys?" asked Harry, slightly puzzled at the way they were looking at him. "Harry, what happened to you?" asked Daphne, who looked like she was about to bite him. "I just had a breakthrough," said Harry with a smile. "What? Another one?" exclaimed Ron, his face filled with shock. "What do you mean, another one?" asked, puzzled. "Last time I had a breakthrough was back in Halloween." "Exactly. We haven't even entered Mana Shield stage yet, but you've gone ahead to the next stage," said Daphne, getting slightly emotional. "Then train harder," said Harry, narrowing his eyes. "You're so close to a breakthrough but none of you are pushing for it. You have no sense of urgency." "You're right," said Hermione with a sigh. "The only ones we're competing with are each other. But we're all at the same stage and progressing at the same speed, so we're not really feeling much pressure from each other. I've noticed. That is why I'll be including a surprise in tomorrow morning's training at the grounds," said Harry with a foxy grin. Next morning school grounds. "Good morning, guys," said Harry smiling brightly. "Good morning," came a number of grumbles. "Let me do a roll call since I have do everything for everyone," said Harry, taking out a desk from his inventory. He also took out the life crystals that he got from the zombie floor of his dungeon. These are called life crystals. They store mana particles and purifies them, making it easier for us to absorb. There was a loud murmur between everyone present as they curiously looked at the little crystals. "When I call your name, I want you to come and take 5 of them," said Harry. Katie, Alicia, Angelina, Daphne, Hermione, Oliver, Fred, George, Neville, Seamus, Dean, Ron, and finally, Lee. Everyone has their crystals. Good. Keep them with you and allow them to absorb the mana particles in the air. Let me know when you only have one left. I'll give you more. There's one more announcement I'd like to make. Starting today, every Monday evening from 6 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m., we will host our own dueling club. At the end of every month, we will hold competitions to see who is the #1 duelist among us after me. What do you mean after you? Asked Angelina. I means I'm the #1 duelist amongst us, said Harry with a foxy smile. Of course you're more than welcome to challenge me, if you feel you deserve the #1 slot better. As for this evening, we will meet in the training grounds. Dress warm. Now let's start with our morning workout. The rest of the day went by without anything new happening. That evening, Harry finally paid attention to everyone practicing and learning new spells. Every morning everyone met, Harry only had enough time to teach everyone his kung fu, help them build their physical bodies as well as mana control. The only ones that he had actually taught actual spells had been Ron, Hermione, and Daphne. That was only due to spending their evenings together. Harry had managed to transfigure a few chairs and tables into adult-sized statues. He had also enchanted them so that they'd be moving targets to practice on. Satisfied with his masterpiece, he shifted his attention back to everyone where he saw them staring at him. The first spell we will be practicing is the disarming charm, said Harry. First we'll practice it on these statues and then on each other. I know some of us may already know the spell, I'll teach you another one. Since when did you become so good at defense against the dark arts? Asked Oliver. Since I came to Hogwarts, replied Harry. I don't just practice Quidditch and attend classes, Oliver. Now let's see your mastery level over the charm. With that, Harry started his own dueling club in his very first year. Slowly, everyone's teamwork had skyrocketed as they helped each other out. However, what made Harry exceptionally happy was everyone's competitive spirits. Once one saw just how close they are to surpassing their friend, they tried that much harder. Those who slightly ahead tried harder to stay ahead, resulting in their improvements to skyrocket. As the days rolled by, Fred and George had a breakthrough to stage 5, followed by Ron, Hermione and Daphne. About 2 weeks later, Oliver, Alicia, Katie, and Angelina followed through with their breakthroughs. This made them extremely happy as it meant Harry would teach them how to do the shadow clone. This had made feat improvements to further skyrocket. The only ones who had not reached Stags 5 were Seamus, Neville, Dean and Lee. This was to be expected as they started considerably later than everyone else. However, Harry was still pleased with their improvements as they were reaching closer and closer to fully mastering Stage 3. He felt, given another week's worth of practice would allow them to reach Stage 4. Stage 3, movement was an important stage for everyone. At this stage, one's mana control would skyrocket, allowing them to cast spells with more ease. This was the main reason why everyone who reached this stage would have drastic improvement in learning spells. The next big stage for everyone was Stage 4, Mana Infusion. Not only was this an upgrade on the mana control, but also it helped everyone with their mana output as to maximize its effectiveness. This applied to both spell casting as well as hand-to-hand combat. Everyone had different speed at which they progressed and they were all finding their own unique style and pace at which they're comfortable with. However, none were allowing their comfort to be the reason to slacken their efforts. They all wanted to be a role model for the other and be the leading figure. This was especially so for those like Oliver who was already a 5th year, yet he was taking lessons from a 1st year. He was not the kind who felt ashamed at learning something from someone younger. No, it was the feeling of standing in the front line and the strong urge to lead. This resulted him in trying harder and harder at each session. It was now the 3rd Monday of March and Harry had asked Oliver to stay behind after their practice in dueling. Is something wrong, Oliver? Asked Harry as he put all the props away. You've been very distracted lately. I'm just stressed out, Harry, replied Oliver with a sigh. I've been working harder than before. I guess that's catching up with me. I know how hard you've been working, said Harry. Take a day off to relax. We're going to Hogsmeade this Sunday. Come with us and enjoy yourself. It'll help you calm down. Harry, first years aren't allowed to go Hogsmeade, said Oliver, slightly shocked. You think I'm going to allow something like rules to stop me from helping my friends? Asked Harry, raising an eyebrow. I'm not going to take no for an answer. Later on in the week, as Harry had most finished from another completely clearing the zombie floor, Harry stood in the room of requirement, deep in thought. I use the same amount of magic when I use my wand and when I don't use it. When I used my wand, the spell had more power. But when used wandless, it had more speed, muttered Harry, deep in thought as he stared at his wand. He ran his mana through his wand again to cast a spell. However, he noticed another step being added to the whole process of spell casting. So that's what it is, exclaimed Harry in excitement. The whole reason behind this difference in speed and power are that wands helps to stabilize the magic before it's cast. This process of stability helps to increase the strength of the spell. But if you have sufficient control over your magic, you can do wonders, regardless of whether you had a wand or not. The main aspect to dueling, whether between wizard or muggles, was speed. By cast a spell, or delivering a strike, a fraction of a second faster can overturn the result of a battle. With this thought in mind, Harry adjusted his training plan accordingly. Harry had decided to use wandless magic against opponents who were faster than him and when he was dealing with multiple opponents at the same time. However, this did not mean he had completely abandoned his wand. On the contrary, he would still use it, however, with increased efficiency. What Harry had noticed was that there was an intrinsic mana arrangement in his wand that would rearrange itself accordingly to the pattern of mana arrangement of the spells used. If he could replicate that effect without the use of a wand, he would no longer need it to replicate the increased power of spells that came about with the usage of wands. Unfortunately, Harry soon realized that the entire reason wands could stabilize the magic of tire caster and amplify it was due to the wand's core. This was much like how the broom's core allowed one to fly with its usage. This left Harry slightly disappointed. However, this disappointment did not last too long as he focused on his adjusted training plan to increase his proficiency with his wand to allow him to cast spells faster. He was always in favor of speed and strength and he was training in accordance to that. This allowed his strength to skyrocket in the following weeks. March arrived and with it, it brought the time for Gryffindor Quidditch team to face Hufflepuff's Quidditch. Harry had informed Oliver that he would be ending match quickly as he wanted to get back to studying. Everyone was in favor of that since the exam season was just around the corner and homeworks were piling up. This was extra difficult for Ron, Hermione, and Daphne as their workload was double that of everyone else's. However, their persistence and tenacity had truly gained the respect of Harry. This was more so in the case of Ron as Harry always remembered the redhead as lazy. As soon as the match against Hufflepuff started, Harry immediately activated his mana sense and covered the entire Quidditch field with it. Ever since his breakthrough to Stage 6, Danteon stage, Harry's senses had skyrocketed. They were now keener and sharper and could extend his senses to cover a larger radius. Not even 30 seconds had passed when Harry felt a familiar mana fluctuation appear in front of him. Out of reflex, Harry extended his hand and immediately grabbed the golden snitch. Standing on his Nimbus 2000, he posed once again, just like he had done after he had caught the snitch during his match against Slytherin. It took everyone almost a full minute to realize what had just happened. The Gryffindor house burst into a cheer like never before as they won the match. This Quidditch game had finished even before it had properly started. Even Oliver was shocked at the speed at which Harry caught the snitch. Back in the Gryffindor common room, everyone was celebrating. Fred and George had managed to convince everyone to party their quickest win in their history of playing Quidditch. I suppose we can change our day off, said Harry as he looked at his friends. Oliver, today we're going to Hogsmeade instead of tomorrow. We'll go after lunch. Who else are you bringing? Asked Oliver, smiling. Not many, just us lot who train together, said Harry. That's not a lot, asked Oliver, shocked. It's all right, relax yourself, said Harry with a sigh. When you're working as hard as you are, you also need to relax as hard as you can. Otherwise, you won't get anywhere if you break down due to exhaustion. Sigh. I suppose you're right, said Oliver with a sigh. That day, Harry and friends had the best time since they had started their school term. Using the money he had received for the ministry's order of their enchanted items, Harry treated everyone to whatever they wanted to buy. They happily accepted without any reservations and shamelessly splurged all of Harry's money, especially the girls. You girls are monsters, said a tearful Harry. Do you feel no shame at burning such a hole in my pocket? Humph, who told you to act like such a gentleman? Asked Angelina teasingly. Fine, I will discard my gentleman manners, said Hart with a foxy smile as he smoothly glided behind her. I shall have to take some liberties like a bad boy. Harry quickly squeezed Angelina's buttock as he spun her around in his arm. He slid his hand and held her by the waist with one hand and gently placed his other hand on face as he pulled her close. So my dear Angelina, do you still wish to take advantage of me? Asked Harry as he brought his face closer to Angelina's. Unhand me, Harry, muttered Angelina, blushing. Answer me and I will, said Harry in a smooth voice. And no, I won't, muttered Angelina, as she tried to free herself. Very well, I believe, said Harry as he released Angelina after looking deep into her eyes. Bro, that was hot, said Fred, with his mouth hanging open. Harry turned and looked at his friends as their mouths were also wide open in the shape of an O. The boys were staring at Harry with a jealous look on their face while the girls had a deep shade of blush. I could do with a hot chocolate, said Harry as he ignored everyone's reactions. I'm going to the Three Broomsticks. You guys keep standing in the cold. Back in Hogwarts, Harry received an owl from Sirius asking him if he would spend the Easter break at his house, to which Harry had responded with an immediate yes. It was now the week before the holiday began and Harry had finally caught up with his studies. Completing an entire year's worth of studying in simply 3 months was a new record. What he needed to do now was to fully internalize the new knowledge and make it his own. By teaching Ron, Hermione and Daphne, Harry was doing just that. Professor McGonagall, I just came to let you know that I'll be visiting Sirius for the holidays next week, said Harry as he stayed behind for his usual advanced transfiguration lessons. Very well, Mr. Potter, said McGonagall. I will note it down. I must also congratulate you on your increased skills in transfiguration. In the span of a few simple months, you have acquired skills on the same level as any advanced second year. Given a few more years, there will hardly be any student in Hogwarts to be your match in the subject. Then you for the praise, Professor, said Harry. But this level of skill is hardly enough to do what needs to be done. You're progressing at a fine pace, Mr. Potter, said McGonagall with a smile. It has also come to my attention the level of progress your friends have shown, especially Mr. Weasley. He is a hard worker, said Harry, smiling. Talking about Ron, I would like to request for Ron, Hermione and Daphne to be allowed to take both, first-year as well as second-year exams. I have been studying with them and they are more than ready for their first-year exams. By June, they will also be ready to take second-year exams with me. Are you sure, Mr. Potter? Asked McGonagall in a serious tone. You should know it's not every day we allow students to take early examinations. You said it yourself, Professor, they have shown great improvement, said Harry. Besides, a brilliant student should be nurtured with more diligence, no? Sirius, exclaimed Harry as he hugged Sirius. I didn't hear anything from you until last week after the whole Wormtail incident. Sorry, Harry, apologized Sirius, returning Harry's hug. I've just been very busy. Coming home after 10 years of prison time leaves one a lot to catch up on. Sirius had come to Hogsmeade to pick Harry up. Ron, Hermione, Daphne and everyone else had stayed back in Hogwarts to continue their studying since exams were less than 2 months away. That seems to be going better for you, Sirius, said Harry with a sly grin. New fashionable clothing, healthy skin, confident aura, all you're missing is a woman to hold your hand. No time for that, Harry, says Sirius. We have more important things to focus on. This isn't the best place to talk, said Harry. Do you want to come to Hogwarts? I've got the place that's very good for hiding. No, let's to my house, said Sirius. Remus is already there waiting for us. Very well, let's go, said Harry. Please tell me you'll apparate both of directly there. I'll do that, replied Sirius. I'm not a fan of long journeys either. Harry held on to Sirius as they apparat away from Hogsmeade. The experience of apparition was just as it was described in the books, like passing through a rubber tube. As abruptly as it started, the apparition ended and Harry found himself inside of Sirius' house in the living room. He found Remus sitting on a couch sipping tea from a mug. Hello, Remus, said Harry with a smile. I hope you've moved in with Sirius now. Harry, it's good to see you again, said Remus, getting up to hug Harry. Yes, I've moved in here for now. How've you been at Hogwarts? I've been good, said Harry. Exams are coming up soon, so I've been busy. I have to congratulate you, Harry, said Sirius with a smile. That deal you managed to strike with the Ministry was very good. You've got them hooked onto something very strong. How did you come up with it? I was experimenting with my skills and I showed my clothes I had enchanted to Dumbledore, said Harry. He praised it highly and said if only the Ministry had something like that. That's when I thought of selling it to them. But I wasn't expecting them to buy it so readily. They are high-quality enchantment magic, said Remus. Naturally they'd want to readily buy the items. Harry, something has been bothering us for a while now, said Sirius with a serious face. How did you know Wormtail was Peter's nickname? I can use legilimency, said Harry shrugging his shoulders. I used it on Pettigrew to get information. How much did you find out? Asked Remus shakily. Pretty much everything, said Harry, smiling slyly. Even your monthly little problem. Ha, little problem, exclaimed Remus. You hear that, Sirius? Like father, like son. He also called it a little problem. Remus, I don't want to get your hopes up too high, but I may be able to help you cure it, said Harry, looking at Remus straight in the eyes. How? Asked Remus, this time fully shaken up. I've come up with a new method to get stronger, replied Harry. I've reached a stage where my body heals itself as long as I have magic in my body. Right now it's not that strong and I don't know how to use it externally on others. I also don't know if the effects will be the same for others once they've reached my level. Do you want us to train in this path? Asked Sirius. It's up to the both of you, replied Harry. This new method allows us to feel the magic that is in the air and absorb it into our bodies. From what I've experienced so far, it has healing properties. I've included a physical training program with it because our bodies act as the retainers of magic. It's like a pressure cooker not being able to handle the pressure and exploding. How far have you advanced so far? Asked Remus. Right now, I'm in stage 6, replied Harry. How many stages are there? Asked Sirius. I don't know since I've only started in this path in September, said Harry. This will make your magical abilities increase tremendously. If you don't like it, you can always stop and it won't harm you. As Sirius and Remus were in deep thought, Harry started talking with the system. System, is there a way for me to get rid of Remus' problem? There is, however, you will need an S-rank mana control. Why so high? Asked Harry, stunned. Because this is an S-type of curse. Plus Remus Lupin has been in this affected for almost his entire life, raising the difficulty of breaking the curse. Okay, what about if they were to practice my cultivation method? Asked Harry. For Remus Lupin, it would be difficult to reach stage 6 since his werewolf curse will interfere with his Danteon formation. Which means I only have a few short months to raise my mana control, said Harry. Then what is the method to get rid of the curse? Once you've reached S rank in mana control, you'll be able to sense the curse that affects Remus Lupin, and through guiding the mana particles under your control, you'll be able to destroy the infected cells. You make it sound like it's an infection, said Harry in his mind. It is an infection. If I place all my focus solely on increasing my mana control, how will I grow strong enough to face Voldemort at the end of the year? Asked Harry, frowning. The increased mana control will also give a boost to your strength. Don't forget, by having a strong control on your magic, your strength will be greatly boosted. The best thing to know is that your magic is aligned towards divine magic, and one of the strongest properties of divine magic is its ability to heal. This makes you use healing magic much easier. This is not the only advantage to it though, as it increases your affinity to other elements. Let's focus on the healing aspect, said Harry. If I increase my proficiency in healing, would I be able to help werewolves retain their sanity once they transform during a full moon? That's hard to say. It's something you can only know once you have reached that point. However, one thing is certain. You will definitely be able to get rid of the infection should you train in healing magic. What are you in deep thoughts about, Harry? Asked Sirius. I might have a solution to Remus's problem, said Harry slowly. What do you mean? Asked Remus nervously. I mean a way of preventing you transforming into a werewolf, said Harry, looking at Remus. If I'm able to gain sufficient control over my magic, there's a chance we'd all be able to stop you becoming a werewolf. You'll be able to do that? Asked Remus in shock. It's not guaranteed, said Harry, shaking his head. But I just might be able to do that. Harry, how is that possible? Asked Sirius, also in shock. I don't want to give you false hope, as what I'm going to do is a long shot, said Harry. I don't know how long it's going to take. But I'll definitely do everything I can. Harry, the best wizards in the world don't have a cure to becoming a werewolf, said Remus sadly. How can you just say you'll be able to cure it? Let's not talk about that now, said Harry. For now, let's focus on me teaching both of you of my discovery. We can come back to curing your werewolf transformation when I'm strong enough to do so. Also, while I teach you both of my discovery, I want you both to teach me how to become an animagus. We don't have a problem with that, said Sirius with a smile. But you should know that animagi is the highest form of transfiguration. I'm aware, replied Harry. But before we start, there's a spell I want you both to learn first. It will speed things up considerably. With that, Harry taught them how to perform the shadow clone. Ever since they had seen Harry using it in the Shrieking Shack, they had been wanting to learn it. When Harry had told them whatever the clones experienced would return to them, to say they were greatly shocked was an understatement. The trio spent the following 2 weeks in constant training. Harry had learned how to become an animagi, and he had, in return, taught Sirius and Remus his cultivation discovery. Harry was surprised at their speed of development. Their talent was in no way inferior to his own. In the 2 short weeks he spent with them, they had swiftly advanced to Stage 3 and were smoothly making their way to Stage 4, Mana Infusion. Given their speed, it would only take another week or so before they would be ready to train for the Stage 5, Mana Armor. During his time in Sirius' house, Harry came across Creech, the Black family's house elf. Sirius showed constant dislike and annoyance towards creature behavior. Harry's politeness to Crever surprised Sirius, as the house elf was constantly bad-mouthing them. Harry warned Sirius to be polite to Creature to gain his trust and allegiance, as it would be important for their fight against Voldemort. He did not want the Black family's house elf to leak information to Narcissa Lestrange. Sirius showed great contempt towards his family, and anything to do with them, and Creature's loyalty to his family did not help. Harry got angry with Sirius over his mistreatment towards the house elf, and with great difficulty managed to convince his godfather to be nice to him. Harry was still worried that Sirius would continue mistreating Creature when he returned to Hogwarts and told Remus to keep an eye over them. The 2 weeks flew by quickly and Harry returned to Hogwarts. He was now in the Great Hall having breakfast with Ron, Hermione, and Daphne. "Harry, how was your holiday?" asked Hermione. "It was eventful to say the least," replied Harry. "How was your studies?" "It was great," replied Daphne. The shadow clone spell helped out immensely. That's good to hear, said Harry. Make sure you have sufficient rest, otherwise it can be damaging when all you do is train and study. We've been doing that, said Ron with a smile. We are looking forward to winning the Quidditch Cup this year. It's good that you're excited, said Harry. But you need to focus on your studies more. I told McGonagall that you three are ready to take your first-year exams before the holidays. Don't make me look bad by failing now. Oh, we already took the exams during the holidays, said Hermione excitedly. Professor McGonagall approached us about it and we got our results yesterday. From the way you're smiling, you seem to have done really well, said Harry, returning the smile. Of course she did really well, as did me and Ron, said Daphne happily. Hermione got full marks and I got an average of 97%. I got 90% average, said Ron proudly. I told my parents and they very happy. They said a present is waiting for me at home once I return. Well done, all of you, said Harry. I also told them about my earnings from the enchanted items you're selling to the ministry, said Ron. They were shocked at first and didn't believe me until I sent them my earnings. They are very proud. Percy got annoyed a bit at my bragging, but I know H is very happy as well. I also got letters from Bill and Charlie congratulating me. That's good to great, Ron, said Harry. Now the Malfoys say any nonsense to speak of. Obviously, said Ron, grinning from ear to ear.
Hello everyone! As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.